Whew. 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 That's all I have to say. We did it. That's right. We finally surpassed. We finally got to the 100 mark of brand new games on the channel this year. I didn't even start as a goal to do that, but when we started getting 30, 40, we got up to 50 new games. I'm like, maybe we could make 100. And then when I got to 60, 70 games, I was like, yeah, it's kind of doable. And then we got to 80, and then the pressure was on. Then it was 90, and then this huge weight was sitting on my shoulders. Going into October, I'm like, man, we only got like 12 more to go. We can do it. And we literally did 12 brand new games right in a row in October and knocked it out of the park today, October 9th. That's what I meant to say. And we got our 100 games in. So, again, there's a lot of advantages and disadvantages to playing a whole bunch of brand new games. So I've got a whole bunch of new games that I will be talking about. I'm going to give you my quick overview of the game, what I remember, kind of an overview of what the game was like, if I enjoyed it, if I didn't enjoy it, if it was multiplayer or not multiplayer, like 30 seconds to a minute on each one of these games. Just to give you guys an idea, if you've missed any of these 100, that maybe there's something out there that you missed the video, maybe you want to go back and watch it, because we were blasting through these left and right. So we didn't have time. So again, advantages and disadvantages. Disadvantages, when you're focusing in on playing just one game, or you're playing 100 new games, you play a game, then you put it away because you got to get another one, because you got to go. You got this constant, I got to get new games. I got to have a whole bunch of new things. I got to learn a new game. I've got to watch videos on this game. I got to figure out how to play this game. I've got to get it out. I got to set it up. You got like this squirrel mentality on you, because you're like trying to do so much and you're trying to squeeze it in such a short time. Now, there's 82 more days left in the year. I had plenty of time, and I'm sure by the end of the year, we're going to be up into the 120, 130, maybe. Dare I even say 150 games? No, that's too many. But I mean, we might be up in like 110, 120, 130 maybe in 1 year. That's insane, to be honest. Let's be honest. That is over the top insane. Like, I would not recommend anyone do what I just did this year. And like I said, I didn't even go into this year thinking about this, but after I started my review shows at the end of each month, I was keeping track of how many new games I played, how many old games, keeping track of my playthroughs, and I was like, I did like 30 new games this year so far. And after a couple more months, I was up to like 45 new games this year. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of new games. So I didn't even go into this thinking I was going to do 100, but like once I got to 50, I'm like, okay, now I got a goal. Now I've got a goal. I got to get 100 now. And that was probably retrospectively thinking, that was probably a mistake. I probably should have just stopped at 50 and enjoyed the 50, and then if I did more, you do more. The problem with putting a goal on it is now you have to do it, and so now you got the pressure of doing it. You got the people that are following you doing it. There is the goals that you're trying to set for yourself. There's the pressure. I mean, making sure, again, you have new games, making sure that you have learning new games every day. You're watching videos of people. You're reading rule books. You're downloading rule books. It is... it's not just the sit down and play through of the 2.5 or 3 hours or 4 hours of the game. It's more than that. It's the learning of the game. It's the setting up of the game. It's the tear down of the game. It's bagging up all the components, there's a lot that goes into it. It is not an easy accomplishment to do. But I am very happy I did it. I am very glad that we made it through this. I think it is a record that will stand the test of time. Again, some of these games are series games, so once you play one game of the series, it's a little easier to play some of the other games of the series, but we are not including expansions. Like when I played Dune Imperium, and then I played Dune Imperium with Mortality, I didn't get to add it again. That's not a new game. It's an expansion that adds to a core game. It's still the same game, so I don't get to add that. So these are brand new games. Like, again, there are some series games. So if it's two different games of the series, then yes, they do count. Like Great Western Trail and Great Western Trail Argentina. Very similar games. They're completely different boxes. They're different games, different mechanics, different rules, different everything. So they do count as different games, even though they're very similar in what they do. But for me, I think they're different enough. But again, if you just add an expansion that doesn't count, like Dominion, I could do Dominion and Intrigue and, all the other Dominion expansions. That'd be like 15 games I could put out in like a month. So I don't do it that way, right? It's got to be a different, brand new game of the series, not an expansion part. So, anyways, I'm very happy. I'm very proud that I got to do this. It was a ton of work. Let me tell you, I would not wish this upon anyone. I'm glad we got to the 100. Like I said, we'll probably end up with 120 by the end of the year. There's 82 more days. So I'm averaging one new game every 3 days. Less than 3 days. Actually, 2.8 days. Every 2.8 days, I'm getting a new game on the channel. So if there's 82 games, or 82 days left, divide 82 by 3. What do you get? 3, 6. So that's 20. Carry a 2. 22. 3 goes into 17. So 27 more games. On average, I could do about 27 more games if I stay at this pace, which is breakneck, full force, 100% go forward, which I'm not going to continue doing that. That is insane. I'm going to relax, be able to play when I want to play, set it up when I want to set it up. There are so many games that I haven't had a chance to look at. As I said, you have to learn games, you have to set them up, you have to tear them down, you have to box them back up, you have to put all the components away. It's a lot of work just to put out 2 games on the table every day. It's crazy. Anyways, I was not calculating it up, but I was just like looking at my collection that I have well over, I'm not going to say how many games now, but I still have tons and tons of games that I've never played. So it's not like I've run out of games to play. I mean, just sitting here looking, I can see Sea of Thunder. I have 1989. I have Plantagent. I have, let's see here, Target for Tonight. I have Skyhawk. I have, what else do we have? Do I need to turn around and look? I have this game, I don't even know how to pronounce the name of this game, actually. I picked this up not too long ago because it looked cool. And I thought, yeah, I need to learn how to play this game. Tricerion. I mean, I've got probably 100 games still in my collection that I've never played. So I got plenty of games to continue on. But I think I'm going to just step back, relax, chill, play games at a more enjoyable pace, not worried about, it's got to be a brand new game. I would love to be able to just sit down with a game that I know and play and not have to learn it all over again. So anyways, my short and sweet overview of each one of these 100 games, as you can see in the list coming up as we talk. We started off the year with Bullet Heart. And again, I'm just going to give you like 30 seconds to a minute overview of the game. Kind of talk about if I liked it, what the game was like, if I played it multiplayer, if I got it, what I thought of the game. Not like a review, just kind of quick overview. That's all we're going to be doing. So Bullet Heart, great little game, introduced, and they have these really interesting mechanics. I'm going to say that this game is going to be in my top 100 games of all time next year in 2024. Didn't make it this year because I hadn't played it. Now I've played it. It's going to make it. It's awesome. I love the combination of trying to figure out what your character can do and the villain character and using the little patterns to try and remove the bullets so you can do damage to the villain. And each character plays differently. Awesome fun game. Tile Tim, number 2. It is a T-Series game. We played it solo. It plays really, really good solo. It's a fun kind of, how do I put it? Landscape or big area map, and you're trying to get your people or your little pieces in the right places at the right time because you're having 5 different fairs, and you need to set up and get ready for the fairs with your pieces and build certain things ahead of time. There's some deep little strategy in there, and the AI is fine. I don't think it was one of the best AIs, but I thought the AI was pretty decent. And it's a part of a T-Series game, so there's lots of deep decisions that you need to make with that. Number 3, History Maker Golf. The rule book is a travesty. I did not enjoy my time with History Maker Golf, which is a darn shame. I actually shipped it out over to Herman. I made the super cool player mat. I got a bunch of seasons. I traded a bunch of war games to someone I know. They sent me some season files for History Maker Golf. I put it on the table. I tried it, and I was like, I couldn't understand. The rule book doesn't teach you anything. It's just a block of text. This game has been out for 20 years, and it's still a travesty that the designer expects you to try to go watch videos online to learn how to play the game because they don't know how to write a rule book. So History Maker Golf, gone, out of the collection. Don't have it anymore. Russian Railroads, number 4. I got the Ultimate or Collector's Edition. It comes with Russian railroads, German railroads, American railroads, and the Japanese railroads or something. Great little solo mode. Very interesting. You have 3 different paths of tracks that you can build, and then you start with gray trains, and then you can upgrade them to green trains, and then you can upgrade them to yellow trains. But your gray train has to be out farther than your green train, and your green train has to be out farther. And of course, the bigger trains give you more points, so you want to push the gray train out, which isn't going to give you very many points, so you can push the other trains out, and then you have to choose which of the lines you're going to do, how much of an upgrade you're going to do on your engines. There's a lot of, it was out of print for the longest time. It came back into print. I got the collector's or ultimate edition or whatever because it came back into print, and I'm so happy I did. It's a great little game. Number 5, Red, White, and Blue Racing. This is by the same guys that make History Maker Golf. And let me tell you, it's got the same problem. The rule book is a travesty. I ended up playing this one. I got the special player mat, and I shipped it out and got it, got the image file and everything and printed it out because I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. I like NASCAR racing and stuff. But it's just fine for me. It's just okay. Didn't really tickle my whistle. It was fine. You're moving guys there's a top group, a middle group, and a bottom group, and you're moving some guys up and some guys back occasionally. But the one problem I had was we did like this big race, and at the end of the race, we rolled like the bottom group. So like the top leaders and the middle leaders didn't even matter because we rolled the bottom group. So nothing changed. So it was like kind of very anticlimactic. I think they need to change these rules, which is what I talked about afterwards. They should have it so that like the last 5 laps, you're rolling for top, middle, and bottom groups. Instead of just rolling for one group, you should be doing all of them because, I mean, that's the most important part of the race. Number 6, Suburbia. Got the big box deluxe collector's edition this year, or maybe last year. Played it this year, thinking this is going to be a great game, and what it ended up being is Phoenix Knight. Shame on you for reminding me of this. We turned it into Lakeville. Lakeville was the name of my town because literally you couldn't do anything because you didn't have any money, so we had to keep building lakes so we could earn money so we could buy like one building. I don't know what happened, if we just got unlucky. It just turned into Lakeville. We had lakes everywhere because we had no money. And the AI was just getting 18 and 20 cost buildings for no cost whatsoever. I mean, he just automatically does that. And then you're like, I have $2. I can't afford any of these buildings. I have to build another lake. So I don't know if we were playing it wrong. It wasn't very fun. It was kind of a joke in solo mode. So maybe it'd be better multiplayer, but that's one of those ones. If I had the chance, I would probably trade it off. Not a big fan of Suburbia the way it was anyways. Number 7, The Valley of the Dead King. Interesting game, interesting mechanics. We got pretty far in this one. We didn't complete it. We played it solo. And I got to the point where it was just, you're just doing the same thing over and over again each turn, and nothing really was happening. So I kind of got bored and just packed it up and put it away. Now I know there's a lot of expansions, and you have several different core boxes, and each one of the core boxes has several expansions that you can put in it. Maybe that'll make it a little more interesting. I think the idea is neat, where the ancient one, the big bad guy, whatever you want to call him, is moving around trying to destroy your other towns. And in the meantime, you're running around away from him so he doesn't come to you. He destroys the towns. And in the meantime, you're supposed to complete quests so you can level up and get nice and strong, so then you can go fight the big bad guy. I understand the general concept. It just didn't work that way in my game, so it got to the point where it's like I'm not getting anywhere and I'm not doing anything, so I got bored and put it away. So I guess maybe this one didn't really sing to me. Number 8, Defenders of the Realm. We were actually playing that game live on the channel here with Herman. We're doing a remote access. And the game was broken in the fact that I didn't have any blue cards. I ended up buying this game from Noble Knight. And like a couple days after I got it, me and Herman decided to play it and live stream it. And we were playing it for you guys. And like halfway through the game, after an hour and a half, I'm like, this is weird. We haven't had any blue cards, which moves the blue enemy down the blue path. And so I looked through the deck, and sure enough, we didn't have any blue cards. So I had to email Noble Knight, and they sent me the blue cards. So I do actually have the blue cards now. So maybe we'll have to pick this one back up and try and actually get a decent playthrough that's not broken. And when I mean the game is broken, it wasn't the game's fault. It was the fact that we didn't have blue cards. Great game. It's very pandemic with fantasy creatures and fantasy rules and like a more advanced pandemic, which is good if you like pandemic. And I do. So it's great. Number 9, Glory Days Boxing by our good friend Bleacher Bums Gaming. Great guy. I have kind of a personal connection with Glory Days Boxing because when Anthony debuted it, I was able to get a copy of it and look at what he was doing, and I ended up emailing him because we're friends, and I suggested something which he thought was a great idea. So we actually incorporated that into the game, and so that is part of the game. So I feel like I kind of helped make it a better game. So of course, I think Great Glory Days Boxing, which was our January and February sports game of the year, our sports game of the month for January and February. So, take that with a grain of salt because, I think it's super cool. It's made by a great guy and a great company, and he does a great job. And, he's a friend, so I try to support all of my friends as well. So, Glory Days Boxing, check it out if you like boxing games. It's awesome. Also, Al, Red Sox fan, plays it a lot on his channel, so you can watch it over there and see it in action if you're interested. Number 10, Sentinels of the Multiverse, Revised Edition Rook City. So this is another one of the revised editions that came out. And so I put it on the list because, it's the same game as Sentinels of the Multiverse with the same characters, but it's a completely different game. It is streamlined max to the max. The characters have been re-envisioned, and the villains have been re-envisioned, and everything runs smoother and easier. The keywords are now highlighted in big red letters or big green letters. Start phase is in big green letters. So when the start phase happens, you can see that from across the table and say, oh, you got a character over there that has something that happens in the start phase. So you don't miss all those opportunities to do things. So revised edition is much better than the original edition, although I am a weirdo, as we all know, and I tend to go with the originals. And even if the newer edition is technically better, I kind of have sentimental attachment to the originals. So, I kind of, again, have a history with Sentinels of the Multiverse because I was there at Origins when they debuted it and talked with the designers, and they actually signed my box. And so, I was like one of the first people out there to get a copy. This is at Origins like 2014 or, 2008 or whatever it was. So anyways, I have this, it kind of grew up with me. Like this game grew up with me. So it's been around in my family for 15 years. Number 11, Star Trek Super Skill Pinball. A pinball game, you say, Jester? Yeah, it's actually pretty neat. Of course, it's a Star Trek. He gives you Star Trek themes, but it's the mechanics are very similar. The only issue that I had with this, and I really wish I wouldn't have done this, is you have like certain spots in your board that, as you're knocking the ball back up and you'll go to different locations and you're crossing things off and you're getting points and awards. But every time the ball comes down, you only have a certain amount of pieces down at the bottom that you can use to knock it back up and then get some more points and then it comes down. But sooner or later, all these run out. And you usually have like 6 or 8 of the, but sooner or later, those all run out. And then boom, your ball's gone because you got no way to stop the ball from leaving. Which, I play pinball. I'm semi-professional, right? Semi-professional pinball player. It's not how pinball works. It's not how it works. And yes, I know they're trying to turn it into a board game. So that's kind of, it's a long discussion that I'm not going to get into and debate. So I'm just going to say it's not how pinball works. And yes, they're trying to turn it into a board game, so you have to have some kind of mechanic with that. But I don't like the mechanic that you automatically lose spots at the bottom. And sooner or later, you're going to run out of spots, and there's nothing you can do to stop the ball from leaving. So anyways, that was number 11. Number 12, title, Bout 2, Boxing. And again, this is our second boxing within like 4 or 5 games. And I'm not a boxing guy. I like the last boxing match I watched was like Mike Tyson versus somebody like 20 years ago. Like I couldn't even tell you who the reigning world championship is. Klitschko or Dragov or somebody, I think. He's probably a Russian or somebody. Anyways, I don't follow boxing, but I got Titled Bout 2 because it comes highly rated. I do the sports games. It seems interesting. I played it, and it's very good. It's a very good, solid game. In fact, I hooked Phoenix Knight on it. And Phoenix Knight, which is now going through a tournament on his channel, where he's taking all the best boxers and putting them up into a little tournament to find out who is the ultimate best boxer. So if you want to check out Titled Bout 2, check out Phoenix Knight's channel, because he's done a whole bunch of videos on it. I've only played it once or twice. Number 13, Edge of Darkness. Edge of Darkness. Wow. It is a huge monster game with so many interesting ideas. This is the guy, of course, John DeClaire, who did Mystic Vale, which is one of my top 5 games of all time, with the card sleeves and I think they call it card crafting mechanism. And Edge of Darkness has that dark fantasy theme. It's got the Dominion, where you have 10 locations out. Each location has a thing you can purchase to sleeve into your thing. Then you're going to put your thing on the row. And yeah, that's where you have enemies that show up that you can fight. I want to love this game because it's got everything I want in a game. And I need to play it more. But it is a table space hog. It is a time cruncher. You're looking at 4 hours to play it. And it just seems like it's too much for what it's trying to do. I really, really want to love this game. Again, maybe you need to play it 4 or 5 times so you get it all down. You don't need to look up rules. You can just focus on the game. Because, again, I love that mechanic. There's 10 different areas out. You got different combinations. I could do this. I could do this. It's interesting. Number 13, Edge of Darkness. Number 14, Player of the Game Golf. Obviously, it's a golf game, but it's one of these games. You can actually roll one time and you get the whole round for the golfer. So this is not a shot-by-shot type game. This is you want to play a whole tournament. And we're talking Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're talking 4 rounds with 60 golfers. So you're rolling 60 times for each golfer. Or you're rolling 1 time each for 60 golfers for Thursday. 1 time each for 60 golfers on Friday. Same thing for Saturday, and same time for Sunday. And then you're going to get your winner. And for me, that's awesome because you can play through a whole tournament. There is, you buy the different season packs. So each of the golfers are rated and a whole bunch of stats and a whole bunch of ratings. And then you get all the courses for that season. And then you can run your tournaments. You can keep track and award points and go through the whole thing. And every time you sit down, it'll take you 2 or 3 hours, but you'll go through a whole tournament from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday and have your winner, award points, do your whole thing. And I think that is a much easier and better thing than History Maker Golf. So, and it's way cheaper. It's like $15 for a Player of the Game Golf. And then like a season file is like $5, $10, $8. I mean, it wasn't very much. So, yeah, if you like golf games, you're looking for something different, Player of the Game Golf. Number 15, Lock and Load. Heroes of the Bitter Harvest. The new big boy coming out from the Lock and Load Publishing, and of course, it's part of the Lock and Load tactical system, World War II tactical combat. Do I need to say anything else? How many more tactical games do we need? Just one more, of course. And of course, it's my number one war game of all time is the Lock and Load Tactical, because there is Normandy and Pacific and Heroes of the Motherland, Defiance, North Africa, Vietnam, Heroes of the Bitter Harvest. I mean, anywhere you want to use, you can play it, and it plays smooth and quick and easy, and I've got nothing but great things. The counters are pre-rounded punch-in, punch-out counters. The maps, David over at Lock and Load, they print you the big size 4X maps. It does cost you a little bit extra for them, but the hexes are 4 times as much, which means you don't need to stack counter on top of counter on top of counter. You can put them all side by side to see what's in each hex. Brilliant idea, great game, great system. Number 16, Twilight Struggle, Red Sea in the Horn of Africa. Number 16. This is actually, believe it or not, I played Twilight Struggle 6-8 years ago. I mean, I played it once or twice. I had played it. Technically, I had played Twilight Struggle, but this is like my first box game in Twilight Struggle, because it was basically Twilight Struggle, the baby version. And it's like 4 areas on the map. And, there's only like 20 cards or 30 cards. It's very Twilight Struggle light is what I would call it. And it kind of introduces you to that. Unfortunately for me, I hadn't played Twilight Struggle for like 10 years. Again, so I was trying to learn the Twilight Struggle and play the Twilight Struggle Red Sea of Horn of Africa. And it didn't gel with my brain because I didn't understand the core concepts. So then later on, you'll see in this list, I said, well, I should learn Twilight Struggle because that'll help me learn the system, so that all these other games like 1989, Twilight, Red Sea, Horn of Africa, I could then understand. And so later on this year, you'll see I play Twilight Struggle, and I now know how to play Twilight Struggle because we learned how to play it. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. So now I think if I went back and played the other one, I'd be a little bit better, I would think. Knowing now what I know, I think I would help. So even though it's Twilight Struggle Light, I think you still need to know Twilight Struggle to play this game. Number 16. Number 17, Marvel United. What a good, nice little game. You're going to choose 3 or 4 characters. I think it's 3 characters. And you can play it solo, shuffle up all the characters' decks, and then you're going to get this mechanic where you're playing a card, and then you get to play another card, but you get to do the card you played plus the card in front of it at the same time. So you have these combos you're trying to do with all the different players. Each of the villains play differently, have different special abilities. There's 6 different locations you put out randomly, and each of them has special abilities. It's nice. It's not super dense. It's not super dark. It's just nice and easy. If you're looking for a superhero fix, something you can play family friendly with, something that is on the lighter side, Marvel United, not a bad game. Number 18, Blackout Hong Kong. This is a area control management game where you're trying to manage not only your little figures but also your cards, and then each card row, management of your card row. Yeah, because once you get 3 cards in your row, then you have to put that row back aside. It's got some really cool mechanics. Each of your characters has special abilities. You're trying to get resources and complete objectives so that you can put little pieces out and take control of different areas on the map. We played this solo, and it played pretty decently solo. I need to look at this one again. I think it's a great little interesting game, interesting system. It's not easy to find. It's been out of print for a while. But I have a copy, so that's cool. And if you can get a copy, I would recommend, because, I mean, when I got it, it was only like maybe $20 or $25. So it's a lot less than the actual MSRP that what it went for, because it's cards and cubes, and the board is one big black with like neon lines on it. That's all. It's not like great artwork. I guess that's the one downside. There's no artwork. Number 19, Great Western Trail. What a great game. Who would have known? Who would have thunk playing a game about cattle would have been so good? It is a classic in design. You're managing your cattle, which are cards in your hand, but you don't get any money for any cards that are duplicates. So you want to get 4 cattle in your hand that are all worth the most points, but they're all different. So I want a 3 of blue, a 3 of yellow, a 3 of red, and a 3 of green, or a 4 of brown, a 5 of blue. You want all different ones with high values. But as you're going along the board, you can either move 1 space, 2 spaces, or 3 spaces. And every time you stop, you can get a special ability at the building that you're at. Or you can bypass those and try to get to the end so you can get your reward for your cattle as fast as you can to reset and then run it again. So there's a lot of different strategy. Great Western Trail. Classic game, classic design. I highly recommend it. We're going to talk about Great Western Trail Argentina, which we did later in the year, coming up. And I'll tell you the differences when we get to that one. Number 20, Stroganoff. Played it solo. Interesting, great artwork. Absolutely amazing artwork. Unfortunately, that's about the best thing I can say about the game. Unfortunately, I really, really want to like this game. Again, this is one of these interesting ideas. You got several places, and you start all the way on the left, and you're trying to send your guys out into the wilderness to earn different awards and bonuses on the different locations as you send them out farther and farther. It seems to me like it's a mess. But again, I didn't play it enough. I only played it once, maybe twice, and I didn't grip it. I think it's actually right there on top of the stack to play it again, because this is one of these games I think is maybe a hidden gem. The people that have played it love it. So I don't know if I'm missing something or it's just not for me. I need to try it again. There's different characters you can play with different special abilities and different powers, which I love that stuff. That's me. So that's why I think I would like it. So number 21, Banish the Snakes. I could say a lot about this one. I think the design is not good. You are forcing your players to take the decisions away from them. And doesn't matter what decisions you make, because the cards are random results and you have no say in what happens. So I would not recommend Banish the Snakes. Unfortunately, it pains me to say that, because it's a war/Euro type game made by my favorite war game company, GMT, with great production quality. There's a lot of people that like it, and I'm happy for them, but they don't understand game concept and game theory, because if they did, they would understand they're not playing the game is playing them. Number 22, Relic. This is a rip-off of the Talisman 4th edition system, basically for the Warhammer universe. It sounds great. You get these super cool minis. You get this awesome artwork, which is what Warhammer's known for. but the game plays like dog crap. So I would not recommend Relic. In fact, this is one of these games, I think you can pick it up for like $15, which I think is what I ended up paying for my copy, because I'm like, Talisman 4th edition, great artwork, great miniatures, only $15. Sounds like a blessing in heaven. Sure, why wouldn't I get that? Now I know why. Because you get what you pay for. The game is just the rules are it's a competitive, so it doesn't play solo great because you're playing competitively, which means you need to run at least 2 characters. And if you're running 2 characters, then you're playing 1-on-1, which is not good. So you more than likely should be playing 2-on-2, 2 good guys versus 2 bad guys. So that way you have a little bit more interaction between the characters as opposed to a 1-on-1 thing. It's a lot of work for a solo player, and it just wasn't seem like worth it. And so 21 and 22, Banished Snakes Relics, we were not having a good month at that point. Then we got to 23 Tank Duel North Africa, which is an awesome game, part of the Tank Duel system made by Mike Butterjelly, good friend of the channel here. Again, I will say 100% I am biased with this game because he's a friend of mine. He's helped our channel. He's helped the War Room. He's helped teach us games. He's a close personal friend. I would never in a million years, and even if this game was terrible, which it's not, I wouldn't say anything negative about this game. So, again, if you're interested, it is an awesome, I would call it a party war game where you're basically taking, each player takes a tank and you're just trying to shoot your mates. That's it. Trying to blow them up. You're having fun. You're playing cards. There's some strategy. There's some tactics. There's some interaction. It's mostly there so you can have fun and just have a good time playing with your friends. And that's why we play the games to begin with. So, Tank Duel North Africa, best played with 4, 6, or 8 players. That's all I'm going to say. Solo is just hard. You can do it solo. It's just not easy to do. Number 24, Tabanusi Builders of Ur, another T game. This is our second one on the game. This is an interesting mechanic where you're got 6 different locations on the board. Each of the locations has a random. You're going to put to a random piece on there that gives it a special ability to activate different things. We played this solo. The solo AI is pretty good. And it's got this weird mechanism where you activate the location, you move your guy, but you activate the location you move from with the dice, and whatever the dice number is where the location you go to. So you have to think 2 or 3 turns ahead, which is hard when you're playing solo because you got so many things you're trying to keep track of. You got the solo AI and stuff. But I think it plays fine. Don't get me wrong. It plays fine solo. In fact, pretty decently so. I'm not going to say anything bad about it. But I think this game, if I was going to play a T game, this might be the one that I want to do with 2 people. Like, I think it would just be a step up if you didn't have to worry about the AI and you could think about, okay, I can take this dice and go to this location and then take this dice to go to this location, which will let me build this. And once I build this, then I can take this dice and take this special reward, which I need to have this built so I can get the bonus from this thing, and then you can figure all that out. Of course, you can do that solo. It just, you can't live stream and do this because people don't like to see you thinking about every move for like 10 minutes. So, Tabanusi, Builders of Ur, good game, good solo, just I think it would be slightly better with a player. Number 25, Chariot Race. Don't bother. Don't get it. It's the board. I got it. Again, this is another one of these ones. I picked up Charioteer from GMT, and I'm like, for some reason, I'm into ancient chariot racing games. I need to see if there's anything else out there and I came across Chariot Race, and I'm like, excellent, get it, $10? All right, it's mine. The board came warped. There's no strategy whatsoever in playing this Chariot Race. The production quality is terrible. It is a mess. Don't bother. If you can sell your copy, if you can find somebody to buy it, sell it, because it's just not worth it. Number 26, Aeon and Legacy. It's Aeon's End, which I love, one of my top 5 games systems. Aeon's End Legacy, though, is just fine. I have decided that I'm not a legacy kind of guy where I don't want to create the game for you. I want you to create the game for me, right? That's what legacy games are. Basically, oh, we got a game in the box, you just have to design it yourself. Some people love that stuff. I don't like it. I just found that out. I played the first couple missions at Aeon's End Legacy, and I'm like, dude, just give me the cards so I can play. I just want to play the game. I don't want to have to work to get your stupid cards. Just give me the goddamn cards. So, if you like legacy games, you like Aeon's End, get it. If you don't like legacy games, don't get it. It's expensive. It's like $80 too. Number 27, Red Rising. Interesting concept. Yes, very good. It's one of these games that's based on a series of novels that I didn't read, so I don't know any of the characters. But it's got this mechanism where you have 6 or 8 cards in your hand, and you're trying to get the cards to all work together. Like, you might have a card in your hand that says, you get 3 victory points at the end of the game for every card that has a value of 8 or higher on it. Or you might have another card that says you get 3 points if you have 2 red cards at the end of the game. So you're doing all this trying to maximize the cards that you have you have to play a card, so you have to get rid of a card to get a card. And so you're hoping that the card you get rid of, the value of that card, victory points, is less than the card you're going to be picking up and putting in your hand. So it's got that nice, interesting mechanism like that. And I think you could probably play this game 100,000 times and never have even close to the same game, because there's 60 or 80 cards that are in the game. And each one with their own special ability. There's like white, gold, blue, red, green, purple, and orange. There's like 12 different factions. I don't know. It's crazy. If you know Red Rising, you might pick this game up. It's great. I really liked it, and I don't know anything about it. Ooh, we had a good month because we did Aeon's End Legacy at 26. We had Red Rising in 27, and then we go to number 28, Terracotta Army. I'm going to be talking about Terracotta Army until I'm purple in the face. I'm going to be singing its praise. It's one of the best games I played all year. It is awesome. If you don't own it, you should own a copy of it. It is super fun. The AI plays super good. There is a little bit of working the system where he's going to put his little guys on the board is interesting. I got to play this solo and multiplayer this year, which is weird. Yes, I know. And it played really good both, which for me is 2 thumbs up. Solo and multiplayer, and it played well. And in fact, after I got done playing it with my mates up at Origins, there was 2 games that they said they really had a good time playing. One was Terracotta Army, and the second one was our number 29 game, Underwater Cities. Those 2 games were basically the best games that we played that weekend, and I would have to tend to agree. Underwater Cities is an awesome game, awesome design. You're playing cards that are 3 colors, orange, red, and green, and you're trying to match those cards with the orange, red, and green spaces on the board so that you get to activate both the card special ability and the location special ability. If they don't match, you only get the locations ability. So you're trying to manage your hand and get the right special powers, but of course, if I want a green to go on a green, I have to use the green spaces, but do I need the green spaces? No, I need the orange space, but I don't have an orange card. How do I get an orange card? Tough, interesting, decisions. That's what Underwater Cities is a great game. You need to figure all this stuff out. And as you're trying to figure it out, you're trying to build your underwater city with your little... Do you build a city? Do you build tunnels? Do you build processing farms? Do you build mines? Do you build science labs? Because you're going to earn a certain amount of points and a certain amount of rewards for each of these different things. Because there's kelp as reward and gold, and there's like 6 different resources that you need to manage. It's awesome. Underwater Cities. And if you can get the expansion, which is super expensive, it's like $45 for an expansion, which is, I think it actually costs more than the base game. And you might think to yourself, I'm not spending $45 on your expansion. I would recommend the expansion because the expansion adds dual layer boards, which are super important. Because when you're building all these things on your board, the last thing you need to do is hit the board and everything go everywhere, and now you're trying to rebuild it from scratch. If you got the dual layer board, everything stays in place if you nudge it, and you don't have to worry about that. So get the expansion if you can. Whew. Number 30, Nations, the dice game. It's basically Nations, the civilization game with dice. I ended up getting the expansion as well, which allows you to have certain factions. We didn't play with the factions, and I think it played fine, kind of a very dumbed down Nations. And I said to myself, I would probably just rather play Nations than play the dice version. It's supposed to play smoother and quicker and easier. I find I can play Nations just as fast as the dice game, so I might as well just play the full game if I can. It's not bad, it's just okay. That's all I'm going to say about it. That's number 30. 31, Forbidden Island. Classic. Awesome. Got all these spaces on the map. Every turn, one of the spaces gets sunk, and your island gets smaller and smaller as things happen. So you have so many turns to rescue the 4 idols and get all your players off, which all have special abilities. So it's kind of the opposite of Pandemic, I guess. It's kind of got that Pandemic kind of time is running out as your island, each spot gets smaller and smaller. Classic design, awesome. 32, Zulkan, the Mayan calendar. We played this on Board Game Arena with Higher Ground Gaming, and we actually have the game here. We actually painted the discs, which is interesting. But we didn't finish painting them. We just kind of painted like the main blue, or we painted one blue, one green, one orange, and the big one black because we wanted to highlight all the super cool things on it, but we never did that. Anyways, it's got this little gear mechanism on it. Plays great. No solo, so you have to play it with a mate. So that's why we haven't had it on the channel other than Board Game Arena, but it still plays great, and it's another team game. Unfortunately, this one doesn't have a solo. Let's get on that, fellas. What are you doing? Let's go. Get a solo mode for this. Number 33, G.I. Joe, the deck building game. All right, so I got this on a whim because I'm like, G.I. Joe, yeah, I remember him from 25 years ago, I think. It's deck building. I like deck building. Sounds good. Let's buy it. It's awesome. I really like this game. I really like the deck building mechanic on this. It's your typical, you got things in the center that you can buy with your resource points, which is very, Ascension-like or any of those Star Realms, Hero Realms kind of things. But it's got this mechanism where you got enemies, and you got the enemies out there in front of you, and then as you go on these quests to knock out the enemies, then they can bring in other characters, and then you got the little track you need to monitor as they're trying to complete their objectives. It's not just your typical deck building game. I ended up getting the expansion, which is kind of cool because you have like Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. And so, like, Act 1, you're randomly choosing, I will say, 2 cards plus a finale of the 5 cards. So you're going to get a nice variation every mission, which is cool. You can probably play the 1 box version 25 times before, you get bored with all the options. You've seen all the options. You're kind of bored with it. Then you get the expansion and throw those in there. Now, all of a sudden, you can play it 100 times. So, G.I. Joe deck building game. Great. And then we go from that to Astro Knights, number 34. Astro Knights is basically Aeon Zen updated with crappy production quality. Like, so crappy, for your health, you have your thin wooden outline of your character, and for your health bar, it's basically just cut a slit, and then you take your little piece and you slide it up and down in the slot for your health and for your mana and for your amount of points. The production is terrible on the game. The updated rules for Aeon's End is, instead of having like piles like Dominion that you're purchasing cards from, you're shuffling all level 1s and all level 2s and all level 3s into a pile, so you can only buy what's on the top, which limits what you can actually do, which is dumb, and it's just a bad version. It's bad quality, it's bad addition, and I wouldn't waste your money on it, to be honest. It's trash. Don't get it. It's supposed to be Aeon's End streamlined. It's ended up being Aeon's End, just a bad version of it. So don't get it. Number 35, Bonfire. Solo, great, Euro, deep strategy game. Lots of, it's got one of these very interactive, you're moving your pieces around to do this so that you can move the wheel by the tree so that when you activate the space by the tree, you get the better special abilities that you need to build up your player board. Has got lights, and the lights can be either red, blue, or green, and you're trying to match those with the color of the locations that they're on your board. So you got a whole bunch of inner working Euro mechanics, which is great, and it plays solo awesome. Highly recommend Bonfire. It's a hidden gem. I do agree, it is a hidden gem. Number 36, A Feast for Odin. This is a game that was out of print for the longest time. It came back in. I got a copy now. It's actually right there. And I actually have the Norwegian expansion as well. But this is a tableau building. I played it multiplayer. I actually played it solo. So I played it both ways. We played it multiplayer online with Higher Ground Gaming on Board Game Arena. So you can play this one on Board Game Arena. We also played it solo here on the channel, and it's a great classic game. I would say the one disadvantage of setting it up here at home is there's a lot of pieces and parts to it, because you got a whole bunch of different pieces and things that you can, like 25 different things upgrade along from level 1 to level 2 to level 3 to level 4. So separating all those little pieces is a pain in the ass. But if you enjoy that stuff, then you'll love Feast for Odin. It's a great little game. Number 37 is one of the all-time best games designed. It sold over 10 million copies, and I almost reached into the computer and grabbed everyone on the war room when I mentioned this game, and they all looked at me with these glossed over, glassy eyes, and they had no idea what I was talking about. I wanted to reach into my computer and punch somebody upside their head. How have you never heard of Ticket to Ride? If you're any kind of gamer, whether you're a war gamer or a sports gamer or whatever, you should know about Ticket to Ride. It's a classic. It's sold over 10 million copies. It's got a great design. It's family friendly. You can play competitive. You can play semi-cooperative. The game lasts exactly the amount of time it should last. It's probably in my top 20 games of all time. There's so many different versions. In fact, I have the Europe version, and I have the Ticket to Ride in Germany. I have the Polish version. I have like 16 expansions for it. There's a lot to buy, but it's a great game. Ticket to Ride. Number 38, Stratomatic Pro Basketball. I decided I was going to try and get a couple games I've never played sports-wise on the channel, because obviously not a lot, because I've played most sports games, but I don't play basketball. I have no interest in basketball. That's why I'm like, I should order some basketball games, because I've never played them. I can add them to my collection of games that I'm doing this year. So I ordered Stratomatic Pro Basketball, number 38, and number 39. We'll talk of these together, which is Replay Basketball. And they both came in, and I set them up, and I played them. And they're both pretty decent games. They play differently, but they're both basketball. You're rolling dice. You got the different players with the stats and the ratings. Very sports-like games. The only problem is you're playing a basketball game. And literally each quarter lasts 45 minutes. So if you're going to play this board game, it's going to take you 4 hours to play it, and it's going to take you longer than actually watching a game in real life. That's the only problem. Unless, of course, you played enough that you're very quick and you can look at the player results and you know exactly what you're doing. You can probably play a little bit faster, but football, hockey, basketball are all the same thing. You got tons and tons of stats, tons and tons of ratings, tons and tons of plays, and each one of those plays takes up 10 seconds of time, and you have an hour worth of game to play, which is going to take you 4 hours to play. Hockey, basketball, and baseball, any sport, unless they're quick play, are going to take you a long time. So that's the only problem I have with them. If you enjoy games that are going to take you 3 hours to play, then they might be right up your alley. But for me, a sports game is an hour max, or maybe a little bit longer, not 3 or 4 hours. So that is number 38, Stratomatic Pro Basketball, and number 39, Replay. Both of them are great. Both of them play fine. There's nothing wrong with either one. It's just, again, the length for me is just too long. It's just too long. If you're going to play a 7-game series, like you're playing, say, the finals of 1996, right? You're playing the finals. It's a best of 7 game. You're playing 4, 5, 6, 7 games at 4 hours a pop. That's like 20 hours just to play that one series. It can be too much, is what I'm saying. It's just too much for what I get out of it, I guess. Number 40, Venom Assault. This is another one of these ones with a million things going on, and cards and characters and trying to keep track of everything. And after like 2 hours, I called it, and we were only like halfway through it. And I was just like, I'm just not feeling it. I'm thinking either I'm not doing it right, or I'm playing it wrong, or I'm missing something, because it shouldn't be this long. Oh my God. But it was. So, maybe try it again sometime when I have, 5 or 3 hours. Try it again and see. It's the older I get, the less time I want to spend with the game. I want you to play. I want you to come to the table. I want to enjoy you, and then I want you to go away. That's what old men like. Like, Yeah. I want you to come, play with me, and then go away. Like my kids, right? Come visit Dad, spend a day or two here, and then go away. I'm done with you. I don't want you here for a week. Thanks. Number 41, A Touch of Evil, Dark Gothic. Same exact problem. Exactly. Same exact problem. It is... It's actually right there. It's on top of Stroganoff, because this is another one of these ones that I would like to try again. Herman Lutman tells me it's one of his all-time favorite games. I played it. I got like an hour and a half into it, and I'm like on turn 6 of 20 or whatever it was, and I'm like, this game's never going to end. What the hell is going on? Come on, somebody. I couldn't get the cards to do. I can't remember the exact thing that was going on, but it was like I needed something to happen so that we could try to like wrap it up, and I kept pulling cards just like randomly at the end of the game to try and get that to happen, and it never did. So I'm like, it's just no. It's got this supposed to be a good mechanic where you use like honor is like blue and spirit is like blue, honor is like red, maybe fighting is red, and something else is another color. And so you need those different colors and a certain value to defeat the enemy. So like if an enemy comes out and it has 3 spirit, you need to have 3 blue cards or a value 3 to defeat them. But if an enemy comes out with 8, you need to have 8, and I can't get 8 to defeat you. So what am I going to do? It's got that, you're kind of reliant on what you can get so you can defeat the enemies. If you don't get those cards, then you can't defeat the enemies. So I didn't like that part of it. Maybe I'll try it again. Okay, now, with number 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 54, and 55. So like the next 10 or 12 in a row, these were all played multiplayer over at Origins this year with my mates. And so, they weren't played solo, so I got a chance to try them out with other people. Number 42 is On Tour. It is a kind of a roll and write where you have this band and you're flipping cards and they're giving you a number and you have to fill in a circle that's like less than whatever the number is. And so you're trying to figure out the best way to path your band around so that you have one like long continuous line. It's a roll and write. It was my first try at a roll and write, the first one I've ever done. So it was pretty interesting at the time, but now that I've played other roll and writes, I would have to say this one for me took a step down on the enjoyment leader. At the first time I played it, I thought, oh, this is pretty cool. But now that I played number 46, which you'll see in a second, I think 42, I would rather play 46 than 42. Number 43 was Jaws. That was an interesting game where we got to each play a character. I was Brody, and and we had to hunt down one of my mates that was Jaws, and he was doing all the tricky dicky things, trying to eat the swimmers, and so you have that part of it, and then finally when you capture the shark, you flip it over the board, and then depending on how many swimmers and how much damage you've done to the shark, then you go to the last section where we have a boat, and then the shark's trying to damage the boat and knock all of us in the water, so we can't target it. And we get a certain amount of cards based on how well we did. He gets a bunch of cards based on how well he did. He did really good in the first half, so he had more cards. We didn't have much. But it came down to like one of my buddies ended up dying, then I ended up dying, and so we had one guy left, and it came down to like 1 or 2 health for the shark. So it was pretty close, but the shark ended up winning. But it was an interesting game. not bad. Then we played number 44, Zombicide, Black Plague, because I've got that, and I wanted to learn it with my mates, and we played it, and it's another one of these games. What is... I mean, I know how popular Zombicide is. There's like 6 different versions of it, and you get 1 million pieces and everything. And I play it, and I'm like, wow, the mission we played, it wasn't very fun. I don't know if it was just, a situation with the characters we played. It just seemed like we tried 2 scenarios. The first time we played it, I don't know if we were playing it wrong or whatever, but we decided to play it again afterwards. I think we decided, okay, I think we missed a rule, or we were playing a rule wrong or something. So we said, we should probably try it again with the new stuff. And we tried it with the new stuff, and it was just as bad. So I don't know. Maybe it's just not something for us, I guess. It just didn't gel. It didn't click. It was okay. Number 45, Railroad Inc. So that was an interesting game. You have it's another one of these little rolling rides. You're flipping up a little card. It tells you, or you're rolling dice. I forget what it is, but you end up getting track and trains and bridges and stuff, and you have to draw, like, you're trying to complete as many of your roads and as many of your train tracks as you can without crossing over one another and interrupting one another. It has some interesting mechanics. We only played it once as like kind of a filler game, and it was okay. It was another introductory to the roll and writing on a board type thing, and it was fine. But that's number 45, but they kind of all take a back seat to number 46 now, all of a sudden. Cartographers, because when we played that was much more interesting and much more, it was, I think for me, it was designed better, where it was like, okay, you need to think about what you're doing in section A and section B and section C and section D. A and B are going to score, and then B and C are going to score, and then C and D are going to score, and then D and A is going to score. So the things you do for A will score again at the end of the game. You have to think about that. Do I want immediate gains? Do I want to not get the immediate gains? Yeah, it was, we played that multiplayer. I played it now. We played it twice multiplayer. And then I played it 3 times solo here on the channel, where you can actually go, and I've recorded it in such a way that you can actually play the video and pause it. And I showed you where you can download the sheet, and you can actually draw on your map and do it, and then follow along and go to the next card I pull and pause it again. And then you can basically score yours without seeing what I do. And then you can compare your score with mine at the end of the game. So, Cartographers, awesome game, awesome design. If you are not sure about roll and writes, but you think they look interesting, maybe you should try one, start with Cartographers. You cannot go wrong. It's a great game. 47, Small World, Warcraft. So it was basically Small World with the Warcraft theme. So you had the Warcraft races with the Warcraft powers, but it's basically Small World if you're familiar with that. You got land split up into multiple territories. The World of Warcraft one is a little bit interesting in that there's multiple different islands on the board, and so like everyone starts on their own island, and then you can, once you've conquered your island, you have to go and take over somebody else's island. So there's a little of that mechanism going on. It was interesting. If you're a Warcraft fan, which I'm not, I don't play Warhammer. I don't do the Warcraft. I never got into that stuff. I mean, I know Warcraft. I played the computer version of it, but I can take it or leave it. So, I mean, it was nice to play a different small world as opposed to the normal. Last Will, number 49. This tells you all you need to know about this game. I don't remember jack about this game. I would have to look it up on Board Game Arena. I don't remember Last Will. I don't remember what happened. It couldn't have been that exciting because I don't remember what we did. Last Will. I'm now interested to find out what it was and what we did. And number 50, Gizmos. I was not a big fan of Gizmos either. Again, these were all played multiplayer at Origins with my mates. They decided we were going to play certain ones. I decided we were going to play certain ones, and so we're all playing. I was not a big fan of Gizmos. I don't remember what happened with Last Will. So that was kind of two duds to end halfway through the list. Holy cow, I need to get something to drink. So if you're just joining us, we're going through our 100 brand new war games that we played in 2023. And I'm just giving you like a quick overview of all 100 of them. Again, these On Tour, Jaws, Zombicide, Railroad Inc., Cartographers, Small World, Warcraft, Last Will, Gizmos, The Climbers, Thunder Road, Vendetta, Hues and Clues, Automobile, Marvel Dice Throne, I think is the last. So all these were played at Origins. So they were all just multiplayer. There we go. All right. Let me get another drink here. All right, so let's start off the second 50 that we did. So, as I talked in the beginning, just doing 50 games in a year's time, you can see what a major accomplishment just those last 50 were. And now I have to find out what this, I have to see what this Last Will is. Let me see if I can see a picture of it and, it's got pieces. It's got player boards. It's got location. I don't remember a damn thing about this game. So obviously it's played it and I was maybe done with it right afterwards. I don't know. I don't remember anything about it, to be honest. All right, let's go to number 51. The Climbers. One of my all-time favorite... No, I'm just kidding. The reason I like The Climbers was it was interesting, and you have all of these weird-shaped cubes, and some are like rectangular, some were tall, some were shorter, and so you build like a miniature tower with them, and then on your turn you're allowed to take one of them and place them. As long as it's your color, you can take one and place it on a different location as long as there's some rules on what you can or cannot cover. And then you're basically have like a little meeple, and then you can place that meeple on top of the brick. And what you're trying to do is get your meeple higher than everybody else's meeple, which I was able to do. I won it. That's right. Jester won The Climbers. First time he ever played it. It's a great game. Highly recommend it. It's actually pretty cool. It's not a dexterity game. I mean, you don't have to worry about if your piece falls off like the tower and stuff because you can set it up on there. It's more of a strategy. Each player gets a certain amount of tokens, and you can say, like, you can spend your token to say no one can go here on this spot for a while until it comes back around to me. So you can kind of limit. You can also spend a token to like move 2 spaces instead of just 1. So there's like these special abilities that you can activate once. It's actually a lot of strategy and building your... Obviously, you need to play it multiplayer. You couldn't do it solo. Thunder Road Vendetta with Herman live in person at Origins. It's a racing, blow up your buddies kind of car racing game. It's basically like Tank Duel, but with cars, and you're shooting at one another and trying to knock them off the road, and you're trying to race down the road and leave bombs and do all the fun, blow up your opponent and jump over ramps and dodge holes in the ground and all that fun stuff like that. It's just a fun little, nice, easy, screw over your buddy kind of game, if you're into that kind of game. Then we played Hues and Clues, and this is kind of it's got a massive board with every color in the rainbow, and I'm talking like there are 76 different shades of red. And like somebody gets a card and it tells them what space on the board they need to give you a clue about. Like I would say Buckeyes, which everyone knows is scarlet and gray. So you would look at this massive board and you would either choose scarlet or you would choose gray, or, as close to scarlet as you could think. And then my object is to give you good enough clues that everyone kind of I have like a little token thing that I put on the board, and anyone's pieces that ends up inside my token, I get victory points for. And if they end up adjacent, I get victory points, but less victory points. So I want them to guess exactly where, I'm trying to get them to. And so, but like I said, there's like grass, but there's like 76 green colors, and you have to guess which one of the colors. It's go look at the Hues and Cues board, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, because there's, I think, every little tiny square on that board is a different color, and it can be overwhelming. And then we played Automobiles, which is kind of a deck building racing automobile game, which was good. I don't remember much else about the game other than it was pretty decent. It was fun. It was interesting, but I don't remember it being like knock my socks off. Ooh, I got to get this game when I get home kind of game. I thought it was fine. I don't remember that much about the game other than, it was a deck building racing kind of game that we were racing around the board. I think I actually won it, and I still don't remember what we played or, what much about the game. Number 55 was the last game we played at Origins this year, 2023 actually. Marvel Dice Throne. And I actually played this multiplayer with my mates, and then I played it at home because I wanted to see how it would play solo compared to the multiplayer. And I found that it has the same problem, because I was wondering if that was just a multiplayer problem. It's basically superheroes with a special ability board, and you get to activate special abilities based upon your Yahtzee rolls. So those of you who've never played Yahtzee, slap, what's wrong with you? I was playing Yahtzee when I was 4, so I'm just saying, if you haven't played Yahtzee, there's something wrong with you, not me, no, you. Anyways, Yahtzee, you get 5 dice, you roll them, and then you pick up any dice you want, and you roll, and then you pick up any dice you want, and you roll, and after your third roll, you get whatever's out there. How many of us played Yahtzee and never ended up in 3 rolls getting a decent 2 of a kind, 3 of a kind, 4 of a kind, or 5 of a kind, or a straight, or a small straight, or mini straight, or whatever? That's basically what you're doing. Each superhero, if you got 3 of a kind, you can do like your punch ability. If you got a small straight, you can do like your kick ability. If you do like a large straight, then you get to do like your double kick ability. If you get like 4 of a kind, then you can do like your double punch ability. So what ends up happening is everybody roll, or when it's your turn, Thor does his thing, rolls the dice, re-rolls. He ends up doing like his kick and his punch. And then it's Spider-Man, he does his kick and his punch. And as you're kicking and punching, your opponent's taking damage, and then they're damaging you. So I do 6 damage to you, and then on your turn, you do 7 damage to me. And then on our turn, we do 7 damage back to you, and then you do 8 damage, and then it's all about the same amount of damage. And then as you go, each team has 50 hit points, and so it came down to we had 6 hit points left, they had 7 hit points left, and it was their turn. If it would have been our turn, we would have won, but it was their turn, so they ended up winning. So it's like dumb. It's dumb because nobody ends up having a bad roll anytime. And the difference between like your 3 of a kind ability and your 4 of a kind ability was like 1 damage. So like if you roll your 3 of a kind, which 9 times out of 10 when you roll 5 dice, you're going to end up with 3 of 1 something, or you're going to end up with a straight, or you're going to end up with a small straight right off the bat. Like, it's either 3 of a kind or a small straight is basically what you start with every time. And those abilities let you do like 6 damage or maybe 7 damage, maybe 8 damage. Like, there's only 1 or 2 points difference between them. And then if you reroll and you can get it up to 4, then you can do 1 extra point of damage or maybe 2 extra points of damage. It wasn't like, your one ability does like 4 damage and your next ability does like 12 points of damage. I mean, it wasn't like a huge difference like that. So it's basically, we do the same amount of damage and all you're doing is going back and forth, doing the same amount of damage back and forth until like when I did it myself, it ended up being like one hero had 5 points left and the other hero had 8 points left. I mean, it was like, it came down to just whose turn is it to attack. It's just broken that way. It's not like one team won and the other team had like 25 hit points left. No, it was like, we have the same amount of hit points, but it's your turn, so you're going to win. So I just, it's just, there's not enough variation. Like the one variation you can get is if you roll 5 of a kind, then you get like your ultimate power, and then it might actually do like 20 points of damage. But how many times do you get to roll 5 of a kind when you're playing? Like, none of us ended up getting our ultimate powers. We tried several times to get them, but, because we start with 3, so we re-roll those 2 dice, and maybe we got 1, and so re-rolled that last dice, but never showed up. So anyways, that's Marvel Dice Throne. I think it's just broken mechanic-wise. 56, Apex Theropod Deck Building Game. I thought, sounds interesting. Dinosaurs, deck building. Noble Knight had the Collector's Edition. It was kind of expensive, but I decided to bite the bullet and take a shot. And I'm glad I did. Excuse me. It is really good, really interesting deck building game. Kind of reminds me of the Legendary system, but kind of like a super advanced Legendary system is what I would call it. So if you're familiar with like Aliens Legendary or James Bond Legendary or the new Matrix Legendary game, Apex Theropod deck building is about dinosaurs, but it's kind of like the next evolution of that system. You've got several different tracks going on at the same time as opposed to one track. When you defeat enemies, they go into a special pile that you can use to then activate them to get more points to buy better what were they called? Evolution cards that'll give you special bonuses and special abilities and stuff. Great game. I like the Legendary system, as you know, so it was just an upgrade to that. And you got 25 different dinosaurs with like 12 different bosses to fight, each of them with special abilities and special powers. Right up my alley. 57, Dead of Winter, The Long Night. Whew. Doug ordered Crowbar on my recommendation. Awesome. Thank you. I'm a beast. He doesn't know how I learned all these games. I agree, my friend. How you doing, Lower Snore Board Gamer? All right, so Dead of Winter, The Long Night, number 57. Great game, great system. I am currently working on a solo mode for that game. I've got special cards that will basically, if you're familiar with Arkham Horror, basically the same thing where you're going to draw a card and the game's going to work against you every turn with decisions to give you the story element. Because obviously, if you're playing Dead of Winter, The Long Night solo, you lose out on all of the conflict cards. No, not the crisis cards. What are they? They are the conflict cards. I believe they're called the conflict cards. Anyways, you miss out on all those cards because you're playing solo. So I'm working on a solo system where the game will work against you, kind of like I said, Arkham Horror, which you know I love. The game will give you decisions, this is what happened. Now you can either do this or you can do this. And usually they're not great things. Sometimes they're okay. Sometimes they're like, you got someone that's sneaky, like the one I did this afternoon was, you found someone sneaking into the outpost to steal supplies. So everyone has decided we need to find out why he was there. Is he a spy? Why was he, was he trying to steal our supplies? Was he trying to find ways into our camp so we can get raided? What's going on? So option A, you can take him out, tie him to a tree and say, tell us what you know, or we'll leave you here with the zombies. And you roll a dice. On a 1, 2, 3, he agrees. Or I'm sorry, on a 1, 2, 3, he agrees. On a 4, 5, 6, one of his sniper buddies shoots you and kills you. One of your characters. So you have a decision to make. What are you going to do? Are you going to risk going out there and putting him under pressure? Leave him there for the zombies? Or do you choose option B, which is you talk to him and convince him to try and join your side? Roll a dice. On a 1, 2, 3, he joins you, and you get to draw a new character out of the group, random character, and add him to your group. On a 4, 5, 6, he trainers you out, and you lose half of your initiative dice for the next turn, and any barricades you've built are removed. Again, the risk. What are you going to do? So, anyways, I'm working on that because I love Dead of Winter, The Long Night. I think everyone should own a copy. It's a great survival game. 58, The British Way. It is a coin light with 4 different games. My mates, Tony and Ruff, are actually playing The British Way on their channel right now. Multiplayer against one another. Trying out the coin light system against one another. And I'm interested to see and hear their reactions to it. We played it solo. I think the scenario we played was so skewed towards one side. The side we were playing, it was so easy. I didn't really have to do much to win, which maybe I wasn't doing something right or whatever. That's why I want to hear what they have to say. So I would say for me, that was just kind of a downer because it was like, I was playing the British. The British start off with like 18 morale, and unless it goes to 0, you win. So I was just basically just doing things that doesn't cause me to have any problems. And the AI didn't do anything to cause problems, so my morale was like at 12 or 14 at the end of the game. So it wasn't even like close. So anyways, Number 59, Combat Commander Europe. My favorite war game of all time. We tried it solo, which two-handed, which played fine. It was interesting. It was great to play Combat Commander again. I love that game. I love the system. And in fact, I love Chad Jensen's designs on all his games because he thinks outside the box, which is great. And I think Combat Commander Europe is an awesome game. It's hopefully going to be reprinted in 2024. And even though Gene from GMT said it would be 2023, it wasn't reprinted. But I still went out and bought a copy because I'm not waiting on you anymore, Gene. I don't know why you'd lie to me and tell me it was going to be 2023. You got 82 days left in the year, and it better be here, or else, you lied to me. So, anyways, number 60, Twilight Struggle by GMT. Again, my favorite war game company. Great design. All-time classic game. I had to learn it because of what we saw earlier with the Horn of Africa and my inability to understand the game concept. So I was like, I should probably learn Twilight Struggle. And I learned it by actually going through the computer tutorial and playing it. And I understand now, and I think I can actually play it. I need to probably play it a couple more times. Because then I think I would enjoy the system more. This is one of these games you got to play it a few times to understand the game. So I think it's a really good game. Obviously, it's one of the highest rated technical war games. It's not really a war game. It's a Euro game with war game theme. That's it. It's not really a war game. Number 61, Atlantic Chase. This is like Ruff's number 1 or number 2 game of all time. And so I don't want to say anything bad about it. Not because it's Ruff's favorite game. It's just I only played one scenario. And the scenario I played was broken. It blew tweezers. I couldn't do anything other than what I could do to move my ship around. I was the German. He was trying to hunt me down and blow my ship up. And I sent my ship back all the way around, and I was headed back to my port to complete my objective. And literally, all Blue Tweezers need to do was roll 2d6 and roll 3 or higher. And he rolled snake eyes, not once, but twice. And that's the only reason I won. So it was like a shallow victory. Of all the shallow victories I've had, it was like, are you kidding me? How do I win because you rolled a 2 on 2d6s? That's just not right. So again, my view of it is completely different than Rough Swordsman's view. He loves this game. He's played through every single tutorial mission, every single mission in the game. I think he would marry the game if it was a person. But for me, I have a totally different view of the game. So how two people can have such a different view of the game is the experience that you have encountered with it. And the experience I had was not positive. So I'm just saying, I don't know why, but it just wasn't very good. That was number 61, Atlantic Chase. Number 62, Castle Panic Big Box. We got the Big Box edition with all the expansions. And then what do? We play with the base game in one expansion, which was the Wizard Tower expansion. It's basically tower defense. You have a tower in the middle. You have all of these 6 locations around. And you put out monsters and they come swarming towards the middle. And your job is to last to the very end. We got screwed in this game because the first card that came out destroyed our wizard tower. So all of our spells and everything went kapooey. And it was the first time we played, so, to be honest, we didn't know what we should be doing or shouldn't do. So we played it again, and we ended up doing the inner, when the monsters end up inside the castle, they do a certain thing, and I did it wrong. And so the monsters ended up winning. They would have probably won anyways. So I think it was interesting. It's one of these it's one of these games that you can't prepare for everything. So you just try and take care of what you can take care of. So if you're preparing for enemies that are going to, do certain things, and you're preparing for those, if other enemies show up, you can't do everything. It's just one of these, you can't prepare, you can't prepare against ranged enemies, you can't prepare against spellcasters, you can't compare against things that are going to destroy your walls. You can only do like one or two things as your defenses. So you can't prepare for everything. So it's like, if you can do whatever monsters are out there, like if there's a bunch of ranged monsters and I'm prepared for ranged monsters, then I'm going to do well. If I'm preparing for ranged monsters and there's no ranged monsters that show up, I'm not going to do very well. It's one of those kind of games. So it's kind of luck based in my opinion, what ends up happening and whether you win or lose. Then we went to number 63, Battle Lore First Edition. It's basically commands and colors with fantasy creatures. Although, to be honest, that's a lie. There's not very many fantasy creatures. There's dwarves and goblins, and you can throw in a spider every once in a while, and you can throw in some like a stone golem, and there's a couple other. It's not what it really needs to be, and I've been thinking about this for years since Battle War First Edition came out. It needs to have a complete overhaul with real fantasy creatures. I'm talking like orcs and trolls and goblins and dragons and everything, where you can take your little Dungeons and Dragons miniatures and put them out there on a commands and colors battle system. So D&D has a miniature system for their miniatures. What you need to do is get the miniatures from that and put them in the command and color system with real life special abilities and powers. So that way, you can play command and colors, which is a better system than the Dungeons and Dragons miniature game. Blah. All right, so that's Battle Lore First Edition. Then we did another First Edition, Conflict of Heroes. I love Conflict of Heroes. Great game, great system. The production quality, it's through the roof. Awesome. You will not find a better produced game. You're talking thick, mounted boards with beautiful graphics on them. It's an awesome game. Unfortunately, it doesn't play great solo. It plays fine. I just have a problem playing any tactical level game solo because I can't outthink my beautiful mind. It's a problem I have. It's a very bad problem that I have, that I can't outthink my beautiful mind. It's just nothing I can do. Number 65 and number 66 we're going to do together because it's Ancient Civilizations of the Middle East and Ancient Civilizations of the Inner Sea. So it's part 1, which is the Inner Sea, and part 2, Middle East, which is both part of the Ancient Civilizations games, which are by GMT, and I highly recommend both of these games because it is a civilization type game that is very easy to play, very easy to understand, and there's scenarios for one player, there's scenarios for two players, there's scenario for three players, there's scenarios for four players, there's scenario for five players, and yes, there's even scenarios for 6 players. So it doesn't matter how many players you have, there's tons of scenarios for you. You can play them. It's easy. You can teach somebody how to play this game in 20 minutes. The one thing I will say about the Ancient Civilization system is it's touted as you can play it aggressively or you can play it friendly, And I say, ha, that's a lie. You can play it friendly because every card that's in the deck, and there's a huge stack of them, are out to screw your opponent. Oh, hey, have a little Black Death. Boom. All those cities that you just built are completely destroyed. I don't call that friendly. Do you call that friendly? I don't think so. Every card in the deck is screw your buddy. So if you like screw your buddy kind of civilization games, Ancient Civilizations of the Middle East or of the Inner Sea is awesome. I would highly recommend it. But don't get it if you want to play friendly. I'm just saying. 67. I'm one of the few people in the whole world that have played number 67. This is the Plum Island Horror. We have played this with designer Herman Lutman here on the channel. This game isn't even released yet. It's still in boxes in China. How was I able to play it, you say? Well, let's just say I know a guy. And the guy knows a guy, and we were able to play with the guy, which was awesome. And, of course, I've got my P500 order, Plum Island Horror. I hope you guys have your P500 order for it, too, because in a short month or two, it will be on the boat from China over here, and you will actually get to set it down and play it. I'm one of the maybe 20 people in the world that have played Plum Island Horror, so I consider myself very lucky because I loved it, and it's a great game, and it's by a good friend of the channel, Herman Lutman. And I'm going to call him Herman Lutman till the day I die. It's going to be on my tombstone. 68, Tally Ho, by another good friend of the channel. Thomas Van Hare, a.k.a. Historic Wings. It's a book game, and it's very good, and it's very interesting. And if I didn't have to play 100 games this year, I might have been able to play a couple scenarios. But the scenario we played for Tally Ho was great. If you are interested, buy the book game on Amazon. You're going to get for a very good price, $30 or $35. You're going to get a ton of quality scenarios with a huge, and I am talking huge, book of information and facts and historic outcomes. And I mean, Thomas Van Hare, aka Historic Wings, is like a walking encyclopedia when it comes time to talking about anything air combat, World War II. He is just, I showed him a picture of a downed plane from the Komar battle, and he was telling me what structure and struts and this, that, whatever, dude. Ma'am, you got a problem, man. You know too much. You got a problem. Anyways, he makes a great game in Tally Ho. It's interesting, and it's a book game. And I don't normally like book games, or I didn't think I did until I got his games. He's actually got 3 of them out now. Soon to be 4, soon to be 5. We did a preview of his new game last week on the War Room show. World premiere. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. Number 69, People Power, the new coin game by GMT Games. Volume, what are you up there, volume? 13, 12, 13? I know nothing about the Filipino revolutions and nothing about that kind of history or anything. So it's, how do I put it? It is coin, but weird. I didn't enjoy it as some of the other coin games, I'll say. I don't know if I'm just getting burned out on the coin mechanics, or if it's just been done too many times, or, I mean, the release People Power, the British way, both coin systems, different things. It's just, it was fine. I guess, again, It just didn't appeal. I thought it would. Some of the new design decisions I thought would be a little more interesting. I guess it didn't shake, rattle, and roll like it should, I guess. It is different. Yes, it maybe this is one of these ones you have to play a couple times. I like the leaders and the special abilities. I think that was a great addition. I hope all coin games should go back. They should literally go back to coin 1 through 12, and they should take this system, and they should be an expansion pack called the coin. Oh, maybe I should do this. The coin leader system, and now you add that leader ability card system to every one of the other coin games with historic leaders and special powers, and I think that was super awesome. I thought that was the one shining light of this game. People power. Number 70, Libitalia Wings of Galecrest. It's got a messed up name. I knew nothing of this. I bought this on a whim because I needed to fill out my shopping cart and get over so I could get the free shopping. I'm like, this is a new game that came out. It looks good. It sounds interesting. Let's get it. I bought it on a whim, and it ended up being one of our games of the month. Are you kidding me? No, I'm not kidding you. Why would I kid you? Libitalia Wings of Galecrest. Simple design. You have 40 different characters. You're going to shuffle up those 40 characters, and you're going to pull 6 at random. And you're going to play through the game with those 6 characters. Everyone is going to choose the same 6 characters. So now each of the 40 characters has their own special ability. They have their own timing where they get to go in the initiative thing. They have their own special ability. They have their own way they interact with the board. And you're trying to get treasure from 5 different islands. And you just have 5 turns to get the best treasure you can get. It is so interesting, and you're like, oh, that sounds very simple. It is very simple, but then you're sitting there thinking, I have 5 or 6 characters, and I have to decide which character is going to Island 1. And if I put out this character, and he's only got a 13 initiative, and the AI puts out this character, he's got a 19 initiative. He's going to get to go first and get the better treasure. So then I'm going to have to put out my better guy. But if I put out my better guy, he can put out this guy, which got a special ability, which allows him to take a guy that's at the front and move him to the back. And then it's chaos. What? You can't do that? That's cheating. No, it says right here on the card I can do that. It's so good. I love this game. I'm going to play it again. Libitalia Wings of Galecrest. I bought it on a whim, and it ended up being Game of the Month. Congratulations. Number 71, The Barracks Emperors by GMT. You notice a lot of games by GMT. You might say I like games made by GMT games. I don't know. I kind of do. The Barracks Emperors. It's another one of these interesting games made by a board game company, which is a card game with a war theme. You have all these Roman emperors out, and you are playing cards down to try and secure them and get the awards for that emperor. But the other 3 factions are doing the same thing and putting cards out. And once an emperor is surrounded orthogonally, so top, bottom, left, and right, with cards around it, then whoever has the highest value wins the emperor, unless they have played a trump card. If you played a trump card, then the highest trump player gets that. Unless, again, one of the special abilities of the cards that were played says Trump doesn't come into play. So there's all the characters with all the different colors and all the special abilities. And it's just like Libitalia Wings of Galecrest, in that you're like trying to figure out with the characters that you're playing out there how they're going to interact and be able to sneak out and steal the emperors that are on the player board. It is awesome. I love this game. It's a great idea. And if you can get a couple buddies together and play this game, it'd be awesome. I played it solo and it plays fine. I would say it would play better multiplayer because you have a lot more interaction than playing, because you have to play with 4 people, so you have to play with 3 AIs. So it's a lot of work to play it solo. 72, Descent, First Edition. This is a game we bought from Fantasy Flight 20 years ago and played it a lot. And then so I picked it up this year because I'm like, on this first edition, we played Descent First Edition, we played Battle Lore First Edition, we played Conflict of Heroes First Edition. So we're going back in a blast from the past, right? So one of the games was Descent, which is an awesome game. Again, it is designed to play it one versus many. You have the Overlord that is trying to screw over all the players, and the players are playing their characters. We were playing a solo, so that whole element was taken out, thrown out the window. We're just playing through the mission to see if we can make it through the mission. And because of that, it was good, but it wasn't great because you lost out on that whole part of the mechanic where you don't have a lot of the cards, a lot of the special abilities had things to do about interacting with, well, if the Overlord does this, you can kind of ignore it, or you can cancel his card. What's special power is a character that gives me, if it says cancel the Overlord power. If I'm not playing with the Overlord, it doesn't do me any good. So unfortunately for us, it plays great solo. It's just not as interactive and interesting because you lose out on that element. But it plays still fine. It's Descent, and the story and the structure and the amount of miniatures that you get from these. The box, it weighs like 25 pounds because there's like 150 miniatures in it, and you could spend literally 4 weeks trying to paint everything, and there's so much in that box. Anyways, 73, another one from Blast from the Past. Yeah, we were doing it. That's right. Castle Ravenloft. It's part of the Dungeons and Dragons 4th edition board game system, which was A Legend of Dritz, Castle Ravenloft, Wrath of Ashladon, Ghosts of Salt Marsh. Those are the 4 that we currently own. Each of the boxes comes with 20 scenarios. So you got like 120 scenarios. You got 6 characters in a box, 8 different enemies in a box. You can combine all of that stuff and have yourself a totally epic campaign. We played Castle Ravenloft. We were playing the first scenario of that, which is basically a solo scenario. And it plays great solo. So I think you can play through all the missions solo and it'll be just fine. 74, Talisman, Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter. No, I shouldn't say that. I love... yes, I do love Harry. I admit it. I am a Harry Potter fan. It's grown on me now. I watched the movies because my kids were young back then, and it was fine. But now... I mean, yeah, it's kind of grown on to be something more. But Talisman, Harry Potter, is terrible. It's absolutely one of the worst games that I played all year. Why would you say that, Chester? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Because all the cards in the deck are either for Team Phoenix or for Team... the bad guys. I forget the name of them. So, like... literally, this happened in our game. Like, we were playing Harry Potter versus Malfoy. I think it was Malfoy, right? And so you got the good guy, which is the Order of the Phoenix, and you got the bad guys, which are the other guys, I forget, right? And so whenever you move your character on the space, then you draw a card to have an interaction. And like if you draw a card that's for the same team, then they come join you and you don't have to fight them and they just give you a special ability. If you draw a card and they're for the other side, then you have to outwit them or outfight them and to knock them down, and then you take them as a reward and they go under your character. They don't give you any special ability or anything like that. So we had one team that literally got nothing but helpers, and then we had the other team that had nothing but fights. And so it's part of this where you're trying to get your character strong enough so that they can go defeat the enemy at the boss at the end. And we had one team that was severely wounded. He started off with 5 health. He was down to like 1 or 2 health. And the other team had like full health. And they had 3 helpers, which were giving them a +1 to this, and a +1 to this, and a +1 to this. So like literally Harry Potter could have went over and smacked Malfoy around anytime he wanted. And it was all because of random draws out of the encounter deck. And it was like after an hour of playing, it was like, this game is broken. It is... The design is terrible. You can't have just random, because you can come up with this situation where one side gets all the good cards and the other side gets all the bad cards. And that's exactly, I said that when I started the game, and that's exactly what happened. And like after an hour, I said, this game is broken and trash. Don't get it. And I stand by these words. 75, The Voyages of Marco Polo. Marco. How many of you out there said polo? How many? How many? How many of you were young kids in the pool yelling, Marco Polo, and then swimming away from your buddies? Huh? Anyways, the board game, The Voyages of Marco Polo, is actually really good. Surprise, surprise. It is a solid design. We played it 3-player actually. And I think that's kind of the sweet spot, is 3 good players. You can play it solo 3 players, as we did it. And you're just doing the best you can for each of the players. When it's their turn, you're placing dice on the thing to activate a special ability. You're trying to move around the board so they get lots of rewards. It plays smooth, quick, and easy. And a lot of good, interesting discussions. And that's one of the 2 Marco Polo games. We also have the other one, which I think is called Marco Polo 2, Wrath of the Khan. And hopefully we're going to get that on the channel yet before the end of the year. Number 76, Kingsport Festival, which is basically Kingsburg. If you're familiar with that game, it's basically Kingsburg with a Cthulhu theme that's broken, unfortunately. You have a player board, and you're going to be rolling 3 dice. You're going to get numbers between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So between 3 and 18. And then you can put your dice on the different locations, which will give you death, evil, and despair. Death, evil, and something else. There's like 3 different resources. And then you keep those resources from the dice you place out. And then you use those resources on the main player board of Dunwich, which you start off in the house in the middle. And then you are going to expand out. You're going to spend 2 death to move down to this location and get this special ability. Or you're going to move over to this location and spend 3 despair or evil tokens, or 1 of these and 3 of these. So you're using what you put on the board to move your character around to get special abilities, because every 3rd turn the hero shows up, which is a investigator. If you're familiar with Harkemore, it's basically an investigator that all the cultists are afraid of and are going to cause you problems.
Trash tomorrow.
Yes, dear. So it is. There's two problems with this. Number one is the fact that you have set things on the player board and they're not random. So you go to this location, you always get the same ability and the same power. So you can't ever get anything different. So you're always going to do the same thing from the same spot because you always start in the middle and then there's only 3 places you can go. And it's going to be to the library to the south, to the Miskatonic University to the west, and some area to the north. And they're going to give you the same abilities. So it's kind of broken because you're going to be doing the same thing. I played 2 or 3 handed, and like every character tried to do the same thing because it's like, why else would I do anything different? I got to go here so I can get this special ability because the investigator is going to show up and I have to have at least 3 defense or I'm going to lose, some points. And how the one investigator shows up and throws all the cultists and everybody into a fizzy, I have no idea. Anyways, the game it's a upgrade to Kingsburg with broken rules and the Cthulhu theme, which unfortunately doesn't work. Number 77, Conquest of Planet Earth, the space alien game. Interesting concept where you're playing the aliens as opposed to the humans fighting off the aliens, and you have to take over Earth. It's kind of an area control game where you got to get a certain number of points to win, and then every turn the game works against you by drawing cards, and you can have locations and enemies and heroes show up to fight against. It's a good game. It's just, I think the design holds it back because you can end up in a situation where you draw a location, and the location's like, give all military units +2 to their defense, and then you draw the defender, and it's a hero, and then you draw, and it ends up being a tank. And so, like, all of a sudden, you're fighting against somebody that is way too powerful for you. Or, you could literally flip up a location, and it could say, this location is a farm and it has no special abilities and there's no enemies here, and you just automatically take it over. Oh, okay. So I can literally flip up one location and have the worst enemy and the worst location with military units and not be able to defeat it. Or I can flip up a different random location and it can be the easiest thing that I can, and I don't have to even fight it to win. So, like, if I get 5 of these, the game is super simple. But if I have 5 of these other ones, it's going to be super, super tough. So what I'm saying is it doesn't matter what race you play. It doesn't matter what your super abilities are. It doesn't matter what cards you draw to play. None of that matters. What matters is what random card you flip up determines how difficult the game is going to be for you. So it's it's a thing. We got to get through this sometime today. Whew. Number 78, Guido Deluxe Master Edition. We played this 3-handed as well because I think 3 is its sweet spot. Solo, of course. We got the Deluxe Master Edition because it looks really good and it plays really good. Actually, plays solo really good, and even 3-handed. Because there's no like hidden information. You're basically, it's my turn. I can do this, or I can do this, or I can do this, and I'm going to do this. And now it's this, it's Green's turn. Green's going to put his character here, blah, blah, blah. And then you just, at the end of the round, then you activate all the locations and get all the special abilities and blah, blah, blah. Plays fine. It's interesting, good. The Deluxe Master Edition was extra, but you get great components and you get great artwork. So I had a good time playing it. I would play it again for sure. Nothing wrong with it. 79, Escape for 100 Million BC. This is another one of these random, I think it's by the same company as Conquest for Planet Earth. It's like Flying Frog Productions or whatever. It's another one of these escape from 100 million. And so you got characters, you got locations, you got board, you're putting tokens on the board, and then you're trying to find 6 pieces to your time machine so you can get back home. And again, you're drawing random encounters with random things, and one of the encounters might say, fight this enemy and find a piece of the pie, or a piece of your thing. Or you might find another card and it might say, nothing here. So like, the game comes down to another one of these random, you just gotta go to as many locations as you can and hope you draw the right card that says, fight this enemy and get the parts. Because as soon as you get the 6 parts, you end up in the middle of the island and you go home. And that's all you're doing. So it's all random BS. It's fine. It's just, again, it's another one of these. It just seems like the strategy is just basically go hope you get the right card. Because once you get the right cards, you'll get the 6 parts and you get to go home. And so that's all you're doing is hope you're drawing the right card. You got a deck of, a stack of 60 cards. 20 of those cards say get a random part. You need to just get those 20 cards as opposed to the other 40 cards, which again, to me, is not strategy, is random bullshit luck. If you enjoy that stuff, which sometimes it's fine, it's another one of those random, can go either way type of game. Number 80, Legendary Encounters The Matrix, the new Legendary game. The brand new Legendary game. I love Legendary. I love The Matrix. I am not a great fan of this game yet, which is surprising because I thought I would say it's a great game, right? Because it's Legendary and it's Matrix. The problem with this one is you have your line where you recruit, but you have to be in the real world to do that. And then you have your enemies that are showing up and they go into your conflict box. Well, you have to be in the Matrix to engage with that. So you're constantly doing this back and forth, in and out of the Matrix. You can only go into the Matrix or out of the Matrix once per turn. So you have to decide, do I want cards or do I want to go fight the enemies? And that whole mechanism, which sounds like an upgrade to the Legendary system because it should add more strategy, ends up being a pain in the ass. It really ends up, I think, after just one playthrough, hurting it because I enjoyed it way less than I thought I was going to. Again, love Legendary, love The Matrix. I know everything about them. I love all 3 of the movies, believe it or not. I enjoyed all 3 of the movies when they originally came out because I understood the concepts that you can't just have 3 action-packed movies back to back to back because it's just going to be a rehash of the previous movie. You have to evolve the series, which I thought was great. Anyways, I love Matrix, love the Legendary, but that whole mechanic of I can buy cards or I can go into the Matrix and fight. Half of that decision is based upon the cards that you draw. If you draw fight cards and you buy no recruit cards, then you have to go into the Matrix to fight because you got no money to buy. Then, of course, if you draw all recruit and no fight, then you need to come out of the Matrix, right? But you can only come out of the Matrix on certain points. It's not just automatic. You can go into the Matrix anytime, but coming out of the Matrix, there's this whole mechanism. Again, it's kind of a pain in the ass, a lot more than it should be. So, I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of the Matrix Legendary as much as I thought it was going to be. Number 81, Final Girl. What I will say about Final Girl is the hype is real. I've heard about this game for years. We're now doing season 3 at Kickstarter right now. I've got all of Season 1, all of Season 2, and I'm like, maybe I should try this game out. People say it's great, it's solo, it's fun, it's interesting, blah, blah, blah. Haven't tried it, decided to try it, and now I'm a believer. It is a great game with a great system and interesting decisions, and I would say I haven't played all the different scenarios, but the scenario I played was, it literally came down to the last dice roll, whether I was going to win or not. So I think that's a good thing. Speaking of coming down to the last dice rolls to see if you win or lose, number 82 hits zeroed. Literally came down to the last dice roll to see if we win or lose again. And I'm not going to spoil that. But Hits the Road is one of my newfound favorite games. It is solo. I don't know about multiplayer, but solo is super good because there's 3 different paths you can chase. And depending on which path you choose, you know a certain amount of information about it. And you either have to give up some of your supplies or you get some supplies. The less you know, the more supplies you get. The more supply, or the more you know, the more supplies you have to give up. So you can either go down the path you know, and you understand what okay, we're going to go through this location, we're going to have to fight these enemies, and then we're going to make it to the town, and it's going to have a gas station, and we're going to have some fuel, and we're going to be able to get fuel. And you know this because you see the cards. But you're going to have to give up some resources to go down that path. Or you go down the path that you don't know anything about. 2 cards that are face down. They could be awesome. They could be super terrible. But you get some resources. So, tough, interesting decisions. Hit zeroed. If you can get a copy, because it's been out of print for a while, get yourself a copy. It's only like $20. $25, but it is tense, interesting game. You start with 5 survivors. One of the survivors is you. So you have a little red meeple, and then you have 4 black meeples. You start with 5 survivors. You have to survive for the game to win. It came down to me versus the last card to see if we win the scenario. I'm just saying. 83 Cards of Cthulhu. This is a beast of a game. The reason I say that is there is a card stack that's like 250 cards, and you need to go through the whole deck to win. Now, every time you draw a card, it goes out on the board, and then you do that for 4 cards, and then you get to play against the card with your special ability and your character and all the cards you have. So it's pretty quick and very interactive, but there's a huge stack of cards to go through. Some of the cards are really bad. Some of the cards are pretty easy. So again, this is one of these games where it can get out of control really fast. Like if you get a monster that comes out, they work off of one another. So like if you have one monster, you can take it out no problem. If you have one monster and then a second monster, then that second monster is a little harder to get rid of, but you can do it. But if you ever get like 3 or 4 monsters out there, it's like near impossible to get rid of them. And then if you can't get rid of them, they just keep building and building. And so they get much worse. So as long as you stay on them every turn, you spawn, I kill, boom, the board's cleared, we're good. We go to the next round. Same thing, spawn, I kill, the boards are clean, we're good to go. It's the problem that ends up where you spawn, I can only kill one of them, which means there's 2 left on the board, which means at the end of next turn, instead of 3 monsters, I gotta kill 5 monsters. If I can't come back and kill 5 monsters, the next round there's gonna be 7, and then there's gonna be 9, and then there's gonna be 11, and then I'm swarmed and I'm dead. So this is one of these games, as long as you stay on it, and you get the right draws, it's fine. Otherwise, you're sunk. And I think we played 2 playthroughs. The first time we got swarmed and sunk, and the second time we went through that whole stack, and by the end of the game it was a breeze because as you're going through this stack, you occasionally come across a helper card. And so you get to add that to your stack. So as you're going through this huge stack of cards, you're going to get followers, you're going to get helpers. Each of them have special abilities. So by like the midpoint of the deck, you've got several helpers, you got several special abilities, you got like an elder sign. You're able to like instantaneously kill an enemy when it comes out. So you're getting much more powerful. So by the end of the game, you're just wiping everything off the board instantaneously as soon as it comes out without even sweating. So it's one of these, roller coaster kind of games. If you don't enjoy these, don't get it. If you do enjoy them, the theme is cool. It's a pretty good game. 84, Star Trek, the deck building game, the original series. I got this going back to my kick. I'm playing all my games. My first edition of Descent, my first edition of Conflict of Heroes, my first edition of Battle War. I'm thinking Star Trek, the deck building game. Me and my buddies used to play this all the time. I ended up buying the original series. I was excited. I put it on the table. I played it for 20 minutes and I was going, what the hell? This game is terrible. How do we play this game? Wow, it's like 20 years ago. How did we play this game? Well, we didn't know any better 20 years ago. Now we know better. Its design is just, it's a bunch of cards in the middle. You're spending resources to buy these cards. Each of the cards has special numbers at the bottom to help energize, give you more attack, more defense, more something for your ship. I mean, after a half hour, I think we put it back in the box because it's like, it was a lot more interesting back in the day when it was like new and innovative. Yes, this game 20 years ago was new and innovative. Like, what? I get a 20-sided dice and I buy characters and I put the characters underneath my starship, and my starship, it has an attack strength of 10, and then I put all my characters underneath it, and it might add some strength and defense and lasers and all shields and special abilities and stuff, which was innovative back then. But now it's like, now it's just, I don't know. It just didn't resonate like it did back in the day. 85, 51st State Ultimate Edition. I played 51st State with my buddy 20 years ago when it first came out, and I thought it was fine. I never bought it. He had bought it, so we played it a couple times. And then moved on, and I always thought it was okay, fine. It was interesting, but nothing to write home about. So now that they released the Ultimate Edition, which gives you 51st State plus all the expansions and everything for, I don't know, $60, $70, $80, whatever it wasn't very much. I figured, all right, I'll try it again. It has a solo mode now. It's got 6 expansions, promo cards, you name it. It's all in there. Player boards, 4 or 5 different factions, 280 different cards, lots of replayability. I'll try it. It was, again, fine. The design, I think, obviously compared this one to Star Trek, the deck building game from the original series. I'm not sure when those two games came out, probably around the same time frame. I would have to say 51st State, that system lived through the ages much better than the Star Trek deck building game did. I had a lot more fun with 51st State than I did with the Star Trek deck building game. It was, again, it wasn't the best game I ever played, but it was fine. It was interesting. It played solo. I would play it again. I would try it again. it wasn't the best game, but it was fine. I don't think there was anything wrong with it. It was at least interesting. And like I said, lots of replayability because lots of different factions, lots of different cards, lots of expansions to add in. There's probably a good minimum 20 to 25 games with good variability before you might start seeing cards over again and start getting a little, I've seen and kind of done this before. It's going to take you a while. So for the price, I mean, you're playing an hour game, you're playing 20 games, you're playing 20, 25 hours worth of game for $75. That's $3 an hour. That's a pretty good investment in my book. 86, Call to Adventure Epic Origins. I've been dying to get this game to the channel. I didn't like the fact that you use runes, R-U-N-E-S, which are basically two-sided dice. So you have one thing on one side of the rune, and on the other side is something else. And I thought, okay, so that's the gimmick of this thing. That kind of sounds dumb. I've seen some people play it, including Phoenix Knight. I thought, it sounds interesting, building your character through the time, and you're rolling the runes, and you're... All right, I finally broke down and played it, and was very happily surprised at how good the game was. It is actually very interesting with the runes, which I thought were dumb, actually are interesting because you get to roll them based on how many you have, like for intelligence or strength or wisdom when that's called for. Plus, then you have to decide if you're going up against a challenge or if you're going to take a trait, which is basically like a free upgrade. But usually the traits give you a better reward. And then you have this whole mechanism with light side versus the dark side. And depending on your alignment, you can use either good cards or bad cards, or if you're in the middle and neutral, you can play both sides of the fence. So that's kind of cool. So there's a lot of interesting things. Plus, the Epic Origins box actually has a campaign where you're going up against the boss. You got an envelope. You get the cards out and add them to the decks, and then you have to fight through that boss to go on to the next one. So that's kind of cool. So Epic Call to Adventures Epic Origins, probably going to be in my top 100 games of all time. It's an awesome game. 87, Cthulhu the Dunwich Lore deck building game. Oh my god. As bad as the name of that is, it's as bad as the game is. And unfortunately, we decided to get on the Lovecraftian horror this year in 2023 and buy every game, Cthulhu the Dunwich Horror, Cards of Cthulhu, Kingsport Festival. I mean, we tried them all. Unfortunately, there's only one good one, and it ain't this one. This is broken as a solo player. You have a 1 in 100. Excuse me. A 1 in 100 chance of winning because it's not designed properly. Because you face off against one elder and one event card, whether you're playing with one character, whether you're playing with two characters, or you're playing with three characters, you still face off against one elder and one encounter. And then if you have four characters, then you're facing off against two elder gods. So as a solo player, you have one character working against the game. If you're playing with two people, you have two people with two characters, with two special abilities, with two items, with two decks of cards working against the game. If you have three people, you have three characters with three special abilities, with 3 decks of cards, with 3 items and special abilities working against the game. So, now, as a solo player, you have one character working against the game with one single power, with one deck of cards, and you're facing off the exact same thing as 3 characters fighting against the same thing with 3 special powers, 3 decks of cards, and 3 of everything. So you tell me how the solo player is going to do. Number 88, Atlantis Rising. Another surprise hit. Probably going to be in my top 100 games of all time. I'm hoping it will be. Great decisions. Solo is awesome. Tough decisions. Multiple characters with different special abilities that you can play. Kind of a push your luck mechanic. Building 9 items of the 15 or so items on the table, so you can, I really need to get this special ability so we can build this part. You only need to build 9 of them, so of the 15 or so, you only need to build 9 of them, so that changes up every time. Obviously, the island's the same every time, and they're coming out with an expansion for it sometime, hopefully soon. So it's interesting. It's a really good, plays great solo. I would highly recommend it, and check out my playthrough. 89, Hiroshima Hex 3.0. This is not a solo game. We played it solo, but it's not. It's a conflict 1v1 game. The interesting part about Hiroshima Hex 3.0 is there's all these different factions, and each faction has their own special abilities and their own way to do things. It's a little hexa grid board, and you're putting players on, and you're putting your characters on, and you're drawing 3 and you're discarding 1. So you get to keep 2 of the 3, and then you're putting those on the board, and some of them are special abilities, some are units, and then somebody will play a fight, and then all the fights happen all at the same time. There's a lot of deep strategy. There's a lot of different units at play. I think it would be great, just not solo. It's just, it plays okay solo. It's just, there's not a lot. There's no hidden information or anything like that. It's just, it's one of those, it's kind of the, you want to screw your buddy kind of over, and you got your faction that you play and you love, and he's got his faction that he loves, and you kind of put them up against one another until, one of you can trash talk your buddy, and that's kind of the fun of that. You're playing solo, you miss out on all that. It's more of just a tactical game, right? It's hard, again, playing solo to outthink yourself. So if I put this piece down on the board, and I know what it can do, and I know what what you can do with it, and I have a strategy with it. I'm going to put this piece down, so the next piece I get, I'm going to put it next to it, so I'm going to kind of buff it up or whatever, right? If I know this, right, then as the other player takes his turn, I can say, oh, you know what? I know you're going to put a piece there, so I'm going to put this piece there, so you can't put your buddy there. So it's one of those, you can't outthink yourself, but there's not much, kind of where you can kind of work against yourself kind of game. There's just that one mechanic, which kind of just takes it down just a notch. If they had a solo mode, and there might even be a solo mode for it, it might be a great game. Number 90, and we're down to the last 10, my friends. Holy cow. And I know you guys have been posting a lot in the chat, and I'm not interacting with you on purpose, because if I did, this is going to be another hour, and I don't want it to go any longer. I didn't want it to even be this long. Holy crap. I guess, anyways, where are we? Number 90. Let's get a drink. Yeah, I have not kickstarted Final Girl Season 3 either. I might get it out. Might get it when it comes out. I'm kind of in the same boat you are. I got all of Season 1, all of Season 2. I think Season 3 is probably going to be their last season because it's kind of winding down. I think a lot of people are not going to buy Season 3 because they've already got Season 1 and Season 2, and they've already got enough. I've heard that from a lot of people. So I think they're not going to sell a lot of Season 3, and they're just going to finally say, okay, enough is enough. Maybe that's going to be the last season. I don't know. I don't have any inside information. I'm just going off of, supply and demand, right? If people demand it, they'll make it. But if people don't demand it, they won't. So people are kind of getting over it now. I think. I could be wrong. Who knows? All right. Let's finish these last 10, my friends. Whew, what a list. Can you believe we did this all in 282 days? How many people believe that we did this in 282 days? You need to go back and watch all these videos. Wow. Number 90, Shadowrun Crossfire. All I have to say is don't bother. It's not worth your time. It's not the production quality on the base game is fine. The production quality on the expansion is horrible. The cards are different thicknesses. The base game has got rounded corners. The expansion doesn't have rounded corners. One is glossy, one is matte. It's like, seriously? This is the production you're giving your people? The whole put your little token on or your little clip on the side so that you can move it along the damaged lines is dumb. The mechanics of the game are dumb. The whole thing. It's just Dragonfire, Shadowrun Crossfire. It could have been something special. The problem with Shadowrun Crossfire is you need to level your characters up. And you get these special abilities and these little stickers you put on your characters. But you need to earn a certain amount of points so you can level your characters up. You literally, and we calculated this up, you need to play between 10 to 13 of the same missions over and over and over again to get one sticker that might give you a bonus that says something in the lines of take an enemy character and one time you can change a red into a blue or a blue into a green or a green into a black. You have that special ability you can use one time during the game. You get to put that sticker on your character after you've literally spent 30 to 60 hours playing the same mission over and over and over again. It has got the worst upgrade system on the planet. It has got to be the worst ever. I would never recommend Shadowrun Crossfire to anyone out there. If you own Shadowrun Crossfire, see if you can find somebody to buy it. Tell them it's a great game and see if you can sell your copy because it's not worth your time to get it. Trust me. 91, Great Western Trail Argentina. Somebody asked hours ago, how would I rate Great Western Trail Argentina compared to Great Western Trail, the second edition? Here's what I would say to that. It's not as good, unfortunately. They added some mechanics to the game that takes away from the core of the game. The core of the game, which we talked about that we loved in the second edition, is you have these cattle and you're going along the trail trying to get the best cattle that you can at the end so that you can ship out your cattle and get lots of points and get lots of money and get lots of victory points and do all this. And it's all about deck building those cattle as you go along the trail. Great Western Trail Argentina adds this mechanic where you get like strength that you can use from your cattle to attack the groundgos, or whatever they are, like the bandits, right? So you can attack the bandits on the map, and then you take these bandits and add them to your board, and it makes a fourth. They turn into farmers, and then you can take the farmers and do things with the farmers on your player board. Which sounds like a great idea, but here's the problem. You need to use your cattle for that. So as you're traveling down the line, you spend your cattle that you've now spent all this time building up and getting a nice, I got a 3 black, and I've got a 2 of orange, and I've got a 2 of green, and I got a white, I got a brown 1 pointer. Okay, well, at least I'm going to get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points. And I'm halfway there. And then the game asks you to get rid of all your cattle in your hand and get like 4 random new ones because you spent your cattle to go attack the bandits on the map, which is dumb. And not only that, because I'm ruining my hand of cattle, not only that, so if let's say I spend these 2 and I get a farmer, okay, so I get 2 new cards, right? Oh, you might get good ones, you might not, right? But not only that, but when you use your cattle to attack, you get a dead card in your hand. You get a exhaustion card, which is worth 0. It's basically a dead card that you have to add for every. If you use 1 or 2 cattle, you get 1 card. If you use 3 or more cattle, you get 2 cards. So you're going to end up weakening your deck with these cards and weakening your hand by doing this one dumb mechanic that nobody wants to do. It's just, why would they add that mechanic? I don't get it. It's not good. I enjoy Great Western Trail a lot more than Argentina. And then the other thing they added in Argentina is the whole, you have to get grain to feed your cattle on the journey. So some locations cost you 1 grain or 2 grain or 3 grain or 4 grain or 5 grain or whatever. And you have to earn this grain on the way. And there's very little earning of grain on the way. So you have to stop at those locations just to get 1 grain. Or maybe if you're lucky, you might be able to get 2 grain. So if you ship your cattle out and it costs you, say, 4 grain, you have to use the 2 grain that you do have. And then for every grain you're missing, you have to spend $2. So like you earn $10, but you have to spend 4 of it on grain to ship your cattle, which means you end up getting $6, which means I could have had a shitty hand of cards and only had to spend 1 grain. So I'm getting no reward for having a better hand of cards for my cattle. I'm not getting any better reward because I'm having to spend more money for the grain. Does that make any sense? It doesn't to me. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's just the mechanics they added work against the game, not with the game. It's like, so now I have to worry about grain. Okay, it gives us another resource to worry about. Okay, fine. But if I can't get very much grain, then I'm going to have to spend money to ship my cattle out, and then I won't get as much money to begin with. So why add that in there if it's going to cost me just as much money to ship my... I mean, I might as well have a cattle that are worth 1, a 2, a 2, and a 2. That's 2, 4, 5, 7, right? and it's only going to cost me 1 or 2 grain. Let's say I get a really good hand and I got 12, it's going to cost me 4 grain. So you take the 12 and subtract $4 from that, it takes you down to 8. So I earned $7 with a shitty hand, and I earned $8 with a great hand. So big fucking whippy-doo. It's a broken game now. They fucked it all up. Number 92, Maneuver, Battlefield Command Game. So many good things to say about this game. So many good things to say about this game, and one bad thing. The bad thing is, this game has been out of print for 20 years. So it's hard as hell to get. You're going to have to pay between $80 to $100 for the base game and the expansion, if you want the expansion, and I would recommend you get the expansion. And you're going to be spending $80 to $100 because, again, you're not going to be able to find this at every corner, right? It hasn't been printed. I think it came out in 2008. I think it went out of print in 2010. So literally 13 years it's been out of print. So you can't find that many copies. And it's on the P500 for GMT to reprint it, but it's only got like 136 orders of the 500 it needs. So until another 350 people decide they want this game, it's not going to get reprinted, which means in essence it'll be probably another 8 to 10 years before it'll get printed again, which means the cost will just continue to keep going up and up as these games become more and more valuable and more rare. That's why I got my copy now, because in another few years it will be worth $200. So if you can get and find a copy of Maneuver, and especially in good shape, I would highly, highly recommend you get it. It is a chess-like war game with some good mechanics and very easy to learn, and a 60 deck of cards, which each faction has their own cards in the deck, and different stats and ratings, and it's very interesting to play. It's a great little tactical, interesting little game. It plays great. It plays fun. It's very interesting. Like I said, the only downside is it's just going to be harder and harder to find. So if you can get a copy, get your copy. Number 93, Australia, with a Z, Australia. Solo only game by Martin Moss. That's not true. It's not solo only. It is a alternate history World War II. No. It's in Australia. It's hard to explain, as you can see. It's in an alternate history Australia where Ancient One Cthulhu's, yes, once again, more Cthulhu's, have taken over Australia. And you're using airships and light tanks and infantry and trains to try and defeat the enemies and earn more victory points than they do with by the end of the game. It's really good. It is, I would say, very easy to learn. It's very unique though, in that you do need to learn the game to understand it and what you should or shouldn't be doing. And so it might take you a playthrough or two. Although the first playthrough I played of it, we won 67 to 3 or 4. The enemy had 3 or 4 pointer left on the map. He had one enemy left on the map. We had wiped out the rest of his enemies and earned a bunch of victory points. I think we had like 65 victory points. But we played on baby easy mode. So what I'm saying is baby easy mode is baby way too easy mode. So don't play on baby easy mode. Maybe play on normal. We're going to try again on normal. It was way too easy, way too simple for us to just power up and take out the enemies. So we're going to make it a little bit more difficult next time. And I think it'll be a better game. Because it was so easy, it just took the challenge out of it for us. So like halfway through the game, it was like we could do no wrong. We could literally, enemies, we were like, come on. As soon as you get over here, I can kill you. And we were hoping the enemies would move towards us so we could kill them. And that way we didn't have to go after them. We could just sit there and just wait for them to come to us because we were super ultra powerful at that point. They were attacking us and they were just instantly dying. So it was great. So anyways, don't play it on baby easy mode that we played it on. We need to up it up a little bit. 94. Stalingrad, Advance to the Volga, 1942. Another, not a war game, even though it's a war game. It is it's not worker placement. What do we call this? It's a area control, that's what it is. Area control with military units and dice rolls. There you go. And it's random setup of defenders, so you're never sure what you're going to get, which again could end up like there are some super easy enemies you can come up against, or there are some super hard enemies. And like the first 3 spots we went to, 1 was super easy and 2 were super hard. And like we never ended up going back in that area because it's like we can't defeat them. Let's just go around them and go to someplace else. So it's just another one of these games that it's random difficulty that can end up making the game more enjoyable for you or less enjoyable for you depending on your attitude on what you think the game should play like. I don't think the game should be based upon random difficulty. And I want to have more say over what happens in the game. And when I don't have that control over the game, I'm not playing the game is playing me, and I don't like that. So that's kind of what I thought about Stalingrad Advance to the Volga. I would play it again to try it, but I think I'm going to run into the same situation and I won't like it. But that's just... We can hope for the best. Number 95, Halls of Hegra. It is another war game, not a war game. It's worker placement, war-themed resource management game. That's what I'm going to call it. It's great. It's just not a war game. If you're looking for a war game, don't get Halls of Hegra. It's a Euro worker placement, war-themed resource management game. Awesome. Highly recommend it. Although, from what I understand, they didn't produce enough copies to send to game companies. So if you can get a copy, I kickstarted it, so I got my copy. But I guess a lot of people that didn't kickstart it are like, hey, how about get us a copy? And they're like, hey, I don't know if we're going to do that because we'd have to, produce it again because we only produce so many. So if you wanted it, you should have kickstarted it. Which I agree with. There's that. It's a great game. Great decisions. I think it is going to be super hard, which I'm not sure I'm going to like because I don't like super hard usually. But it does give me the feeling that I'm in control of the game as opposed to the game in charge of me, which I do like, unlike Stalingrad. So 95, Halls of Hegra. If you can get a copy, get it because its price is only going to go up. 96, Earth game. Hottest game on the planet. And I use that term, even though the game is called Earth, I use that term all the time. The hottest game on the planet is Earth. Unfortunately, one of the worst produced games that I've had come to me in the shrink wrap in a long time, which is very disappointing and very depressing. The production quality is way below standard. The cards are already bowing. The player boards bow. The artwork on the box is great, and the artwork on the pictures on the card are great. All the other artwork in the game is like beta artwork. It is just, it is production-wise way down, but the gameplay is pretty solid and pretty decent game-wise. So if you can look past the production quality, I would recommend you get it. But I would rather you go to Board Game Arena and play it there, because you can play it there for free, as opposed to buying this game for $45, because it's not a $45 game. The only reason they're charging you $45 is because it's the hottest game on the planet. Supply, demand. I fell for the hype. I'm trying to prevent you from falling for the hype. Don't fall. Don't get it. It's not worth it. 97 is Steam, which happens to be right here. And it's still out on my table because I think me and my buddy Lowers Thor Board Gamer are going to be playing it sometime soon. Maybe even tomorrow night. That's why I'm doing this video tonight. It is a Martin Wallace train game. Where have you heard that before? I don't know. It's interesting. It's great. I think it is going to play wonderful when you play the rules correctly. We played yesterday. And the rules, we missed one simple rule that said, when you're done doing this, do it again a second time where you earn income. And I missed that. So all of my factions were really poor and in the doghouse and owed a lot of money, and I couldn't figure out why. It's because I literally forgot to do a second buy phase for all the different railroad companies, and they could have exported cubes and earned a lot more money and not been in the hole so much. That would have been a much better thing for them. So if you play by all the rules, it's probably better. That is number 97. Number 98, Dale of Merchants Collection. It is a deck building game of woodland creatures with special abilities and interesting mechanic where all you have to do is build your what do they call it? They build your stalls. You have to build a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, a 7, and an 8. Once you build your 8 stall, you win. You have to build them in order. You have to build them with the same colored faction. And once you do that, you're done. And so you're deck building to get the right cards in your deck with the right special abilities so you can beat your opponent. We played it multiplayer, and we played it solo in this one stream earlier, and it plays fine both ways. It's a great little friendly, easy to learn, interesting to play deck building game with lots of different creatures with lots of different special abilities and powers. You can use friendly creatures that don't attack one another. You can play with aggressive creatures that like draw a card out of your opponent's hand, and if it costs 3 or less, you keep it. Or cause your opponent to discard a random card out of their hand, things like that. If you don't want to play with those creatures, you don't have to. If you like playing with them, they have them. There's all kinds of special abilities and creatures, and they each do something different and interesting. And I think, especially with the collector's edition, you get Dale Merchants 1, 2, and 3, plus all the promos and all the special abilities and stuff. There's probably 100 hours worth of gameplay in there, minimum. So it's a great investment. Number 99, and we're working our way down. We got Lock and Load, Heroes of Defiance. This is another one of the Lock and Load game systems. This is actually the first time we ever played it on the channel. I've been meaning to go back to that because we messed up the scenario. I actually have it on Vassal. I've saved it on Vassal, and I thought about redoing it on Vassal as opposed to having it out on the board game because it might be a little easier to show you guys. I messed up because I think it's the Germans actually come in paratroops, and they have to choose a location in the middle of the board, and I was doing it like diagonal as opposed to like straight down the road, and I think straight down the road is what they should be doing at their paradrop because they're going to end up in random locations afterwards. And the other thing is the French can't set up in the roads. So as long as they land in the roads, the French won't be there because if they land on the French, then they take damage and stuff. Anyways, the scenario seemed like an interesting one, so I tried it. I messed up that rule, and so I got frustrated and put it away and created the Vassal module. So someday we should look at this again because it's lock and load tactical. It's a great system, lots of fun things, pre-round encounters, great production quality, lots of scenarios. Just awesome game by an awesome company. At number 100, we started this. Good Lord, when did we start this? 3 hours ago, just over 3 hours ago. Are you kidding me? We've been doing this for 3 hours. I said I was going to go through this quickly. I guess it didn't go through so quickly. It's almost 12 o'clock. 3 hours. Are you kidding me, Jester? Well, anyways, we started with Bullet Heart as number 1. We might as well end with number 100, Bullet Star. This is the twin sister to Bullet Heart. And we played Bullet Star again. Same thing goes with what I said way back 3 hours ago. It's a great game. You get to manage multiple different things with your bullets on your player board, your patterns for your special ability for your hero, the patterns on the special abilities for the villain, and how they all interplay is a ballet of beautifulness. It is awesome to behold. So much strategy and so much deep thought goes into every single turn. When do you activate the patterns? Which way? How? Which bullets do you send at your opponent? How are they going to, react? And how are you going to end up having your opponent's pattern at the end with all of their action points that you have to spend during your turn? And, of course, all of your special abilities and all your special patterns. It is one of the best games I played all year, and I've enjoyed both Bullet Heart and Bullet Star, my number 1 and my number 100. There you go. Holy cowabunga. That has been, if you made it to the end, kudos to you, my friend. Kudos to you, and thank you for your support in watching this for 3 hours and listening to me ramble on about the 100. Now, it took me 3 hours to just talk about the 100 games that I played this year. How long do you think it's taken me to play the games, the 100 games that has taken me 282 days to play? How many hours of watching video, reading rules, setting up gameplay, playing the games, packing them up, putting the games away, setting up the next one, and repeating the process 100 times. How many thousands of hours have I donated of my life for your enjoyment just in the last 282 days? You all better appreciate the effort that I put in, or I'm coming to your house, and I'm calling you out. That's it. You better appreciate all this time and effort. If you think doing 10 games, our War Game Challenge, play 10 War Games in a year, and we have like 5 people that complete that challenge, right? If you think doing 10 War Games a year is tough, maybe we should make it 100 War Games you have to play in a year. That's what we should do. Now imagine how many people we would get to do that. Like, we might get 3 to 5 people this year that complete the challenge. And the challenge is just play 10 war games in a year. We played 100 brand new, never before played games on the channel in 282 days. In 2023, 100 brand new. And that doesn't even take into consideration all the ones that we played that didn't make the list. All the ones we played before. Most of the sports games. Fall Classic, Stratomatic Baseball. We just played Stratomatic Baseball the other day. Doesn't count because we played it before. We played Dune Imperium. We played Dune Imperium a month ago or two. Doesn't count. We played it before. We played Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion. Doesn't count because we played it before on the channel. These are all brand new, never before played games, which means, again, and I hate to harp on this, it means watching videos of people playing it, teaching tutorials, reading the rule books, sitting down, understanding the game concepts, getting the game out, setting it up. Some games take 25, 30, 40 minutes to set up. Playing said games on the channel. Sitting down. Again, some games only take 20, 30 minutes to play. Other games, 3, 4, 5 hours. Taking the game and packing it all back up. Some games, put it in the box, you're done. Other games, you got to put them in baggies. You got to separate the pieces. You got to try to figure out how it all fits back in the box. You got to sleeve the cards. These are all brand new games. If I want to keep the game in tip-top shape, I'm going to have to sleeve them. I'm going to have to separate the tokens. This is not just play 100 games that are already set up and ready to go for me. I'm not coming home from work and the wife has set up the game for me and all I have to do is sit down and play it. This is a lot of time and effort. And I play one new one every 2.8 days for you guys. So, anyways, I'm sure we're going to get another 10, 15, 20 more before the end of the year. We got 82 days left in 2023. 82 to go. So maybe we'll get a couple more. Maybe a couple dozen more. Who knows? But that is the first 100 we made it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support. I would love it, personally, love with my heart, if you would like this video and say, I appreciate the effort and the time that you did this year, Jester. Thank you for all the enjoyment that you have given me this year by watching you play these 100 games. It's been awesome. It's been a great ride. Thank you, Mr. Jester. I appreciate it. That would be awesome. That would make me feel like all the time and effort and trouble and difficulties and everything that I went through was more than worth it just for you. So thank you all. It's been a long journey and a long video, a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. But it was a fun journey along the way. And thank you all for participating with me. We will see you again tomorrow night right here once again. Maybe even doing game number 101. We'll see. I don't know. But anyways, have a good night, everybody. We'll see you next time. Until then, my friends, take care of yourselves. We'll see you all down the line. Take care and bye for now.